Rescued by the Orc Chieftain by Celeste King, Book 1 of the Mates of the Burning Sun Clan series.
Humans have been driven underground like rats as they try to stay safe from the marauding orcs.
But then on a foraging mission, one of those giant beasts gets his paws on Camille.
He says that he will lay down his life till the end of his days to protect her.
And will love her and try to keep her comfortable as she gives him children.
But unfortunately, YouTube won't allow us to share the steamy scenes with you here. That's why we have the unabridged version of this audiobook waiting for you at worldsofprothika.com.
And don't forget to use promo code YouTube30 at checkout for a savage 30% discount on this or any other digital product.
Subscribing to this channel and liking this video will help us bring you more weekly, free full audiobooks. Leave a comment below and let us know. Team Human or Team Orc?
You're listening to Celeste King's Rescued by the Orc. Chapter 1. Camille. The smell of food clings to me. Clothes, hair and skin. It has been a long morning in the bunker's kitchens, but I'm used to them now. Here he comes, whispers Bridget, one of the few young women from the kitchens that actually speaks to me. The job is a tough one, and there is no time for anything other than cooking, preparing food or scrubbing the pots. My favourite part of the job, I say dryly. Bridget stifles a laugh. You'll be fine as long as you always keep sight of where his hands are. Turning my head and pretending to vomit, I now draw a laugh from my friend. Those disgusting, pudgy things. I'll take a meat cleaver to them if they come anywhere near me. I mean it. Life is tough enough in bunker number 46 without having to fend off vile creatures like Bob Murphy. He has been eyeing me for some time now, and I know there will be a point when he makes his unwelcome advances. My stomach always turns when I catch sight of the head cook, and I do my best to avoid him at all costs. But it is the time of day, the end of the shift, that I need to face him and not show my disgust. The time when I will receive food for me and my younger sister, Ivory. I try my best not to make eye contact as I hold out my food box. Into it he drops the remaining gruel, the smell of it adding to my nausea, and the tiny portion instigating a primal panic. There is no way this will be enough. Please, is there any chance that I can have some more? I'm worried that this won't feed my sister. It hurts me to beg like this, especially to him, but do I really have a choice? The look he gives me makes my guts churn. If you want more, then you need to give me something. He rubs his hands over the dirty apron that barely contains his belly. Are you serious? How dare you? You're forgetting your place, Camille, he spits back at me. No, I am remembering my place, Robert, and that isn't under some disgusting old man like you. I'd rather starve. His face is now bright red, and there is a malignancy in his eyes that should worry me, but it doesn't. My rage so deep I think I might actually strike him. Instead, I grab for the metal jug on the counter and fling it across the room, the noise alerting everyone that something serious was going on. Then it looks like you've got your wish. Starve, you and that sister of yours. Now get out of here and never come back. You were only here because I chose to show you some pity. Yes, and I wonder why you chose to do that. From the goodness of that filthy heart of yours. I doubt it. You disgust me. Out and don't come back, ever. Never, I yell, storming from the room, my head so hot with anger I feel sure it will explode. But at the same time, I know this is far from good news. The job in the kitchens was by no means perfect, but it was something. I march down the corridors towards her unit, the gruel still in my hands. My mind assaults me with thoughts of what will happen to us now. The gruel isn't enough to feed my young sister, let alone the both of us. I take a long, deep breath before opening the front door to my unit, not wanting to alarm Ivory. She is all that I have in this world, and it is my job to make her life better than mine has been. I open the door, hoping that Ivory won't notice how upset I am and that the concern on my face isn't showing. Hey, Squiggle, I say when I find her at the usual spot. Ivory is at her desk, hunched over a drawing. What have you got there? I was just trying to get your portrait, she replies, not even looking up. I look down at my own face, a rush of emotion forming in my throat. How can an 11-year-old girl be so talented? I struggle to form words, but finally manage. That is quite something. Really? She asks, now looking up at me. More than really, I reply, smiling. There is so much darkness in the world, and yet sometimes, in moments like this, I can hardly believe that such beauty exists too. Are you hungry? I ask, pushing the food box towards her. It's okay. I've already eaten at the kitchens, I lie. My sister takes the gruel and begins eating. It isn't enough, and that thought tears at every fibre of my being. Ivory has always been a sickly child, in need of nutritious food and medicine. Without it, I can't even begin to imagine what would happen. So, I've got some good news. I continue with the lies. I found some better work than in the kitchens. I force a smile out, hating myself for being so untruthful to the person I love most in the world. That's great, Cam. I can't say too much about it at the moment because we need to confirm the details, but it's good news, right? Sure, Ivory replies, taking small spoonfuls of the gruel. Anyway, I've just come back to give you this and tell you the news. I've got to pop back out, but I won't be long. You'll be okay, won't you? Ivory nods, and it pulls at my heart that she is so trusting of me. In truth, I have let her down, got myself fired from my job, and jeopardized the only source of food and income we had. Going above ground is usually forbidden, unless there is a distinct purpose. As far as I can tell, there is no better one now. I have to gather food somehow. I am going out there no matter what. I change from my kitchen clothes and into a dark hooded tunic and pants before saying goodbye to Ivory and leaving our unit. I snake through the corridors, pulling my hood over my head and making my way to one of the bunker's exits. When the door opens, I pull in a deep breath of air, savouring it as it fills my lungs. Living underground is not meant for humans, and certainly not for me. But since the orcs arrived through the Great Rift, we have had no choice. Like animals, we have been driven underground, trying to stay safe and clear of the marauding orcs. Business? Someone says from behind me. Gathering supplies for the kitchens, I reply, my heart in my mouth. Name? Camille Layton. You have 1 hour. I nod, my footsteps light as we head towards the bunker boundary and out into the wilds. In the distance are the ruins of the skyscrapers that humans once used, now nothing but skeletons covered in vines. This is far from what the city of Atlanta used to apparently be, but life is far from what it was before the orcs came here, though I know little about that. I only know this. Moving further from the bunker, I keep my head down, searching out anything that may be of use to me. When I spot the small, creamy-coloured mushrooms, my heart leaps a little. It is a reminder that I can always find a way. Collecting as many as I can until I am satisfied that I can at least make a soup with them and some of the herbs I also found. It isn't a great deal, but it is better than nothing, and besides I picked up some skills from the kitchens. I tuck them safely into the bag that I brought, memorising the spot where I found them before deciding to go just a little further. There may be more out where the grasses are richer. But I am stopped in my tracks, not daring to look, when I hear footsteps behind me. I know the dangers of the wilderness. What the hell is it?
Chapter 2. Urish. Blood spatters my face as I draw my axe from the head of the enemy. I lick my bottom lip, tasting my wind and drive forward, everything in me alive, alert, on fire. Each body that I send to the ground emboldens me. Each scream that I hear before they take their final breath rushes into me. There is nothing like it. Cries from the wounded land on my skin, and I smile. A dark and savage smile that I know means one thing. The curse has me in its grip. My blood pumps furiously, and I almost tear my throat open with my roars. This is the frenzy that builds when I fight. It is who and what I am. I know this, my people know this, and yet Still, they welcome me as a commander and a member of the Burning Sun clan. Though there are many great and worthy warriors within it, I burn the hottest and the brightest. In the corner of my eye, I catch Loki as he watches me, knowing that soon he will try to intervene. But there's no way that I will let him. I can't. I was born for this, to conquer and fight, and it is what I live for. Not only that, but I am good at it. One does not simply become Yrish the Mad Dog by being an ordinary warrior. There is nothing ordinary about me, what I can do or how I do it. Indeed, fighting is the only time when I am at peace. How this came about is not my doing, but a curse along the family line that was issued by a being I know not of. As the firstborn son, I am the one that has fallen under its spell. For my people, the Burning Sun clan. I will fight as though I will die, though I have no intention of doing so. This battle is for territory, but for me it is much more. It is what I live and breathe, and without it, I will be nothing. Urish! I hear Loki roar, but I do not listen. He is my chieftain and lifelong friend, and there is nothing that I would not do for him, except stop. I am a commander, but when in this state I give no commands, nor take them. There is just me, the enemy, the blood, the cries. I continue to plow through the enemy, slicing through them as if they are meat. Their screams only make me more wild, driving my frenzy, my heart thumping in my chest like a drum as I take one after the other. I have reached the point of no return, my body feeling like it does not even belong to me, my rage so huge it threatens to consume me. And I would let it. I would let it eat me alive as long as I took the enemy down first. With one swing of my axe, I take the head off the oncoming orc. His body drops to the ground, and behind him I see the face of Loki's second-in-command, and another friend who is like a brother to me. I am in a world that only I inhabit, and can't hear what he is yelling, but can tell from his face that those screams are meant for me. Both he and Loki are there for me, always. I know that it's me they are coming for now as the last of the enemy orcs falls. Instinctively, I swing around, knowing that Loki will be there as they close in on me, desperate to assuage the crazed animal that I am. His face gets closer, his eyes searching for mine as he attempts to calm me. I roar with laughter and bare my teeth. They should both know by now that I can't be stopped. Won't be stopped. As he gets closer, I feel the urge to charge at him and sink my axe into his skull. No, I can't. It is Loki. Exhilaration takes my body completely, the blood, the screams and wails from those I have taken. All of it feeds every cell and sinew in my body. It feeds my curse, and right now it is feasting. A sudden spark of panic travels up my spine. This is too strong even for me. If I do not leave this place, then I will lose my mind, and as much as I am driven to, I would never want to harm my friends or my clan. I must leave. Spinning around, I see his face etched with the kind of menacing concern only an orc could have. But I know he worries for me, and for Loki. He should also worry for himself because a rage that burns hot and deep is about to erupt from me. I must leave now. He holds out a hand in front of him, gesturing to me to stand down, his eyes locked onto mine. The battle is won, I know that. It is I that have sent most of these orcs to their deaths. But it is not them that is the enemy now. Oh, this damned curse! Nothing that could happen to me on the battlefield could be any worse than knowing I am such a risk to those that are the most important to me. It is harder to live with than anything that this existence can throw at me. Run! It has to be now, or they will soon be upon me, and I cannot guarantee I can stop myself from harming them. Life without battle is not worth living, but neither is a life without my closest friends and allies. I could never live with myself if I were responsible for ending their lives. The blood that pumps in my ears lessens, but I cannot trust myself yet. I have lived with this curse for long enough to know that I need to be kept away from anyone that is not an enemy. Their voices now become clearer. "Urish, stand down!" says Loki. Turning back to him, I can hear my ragged breaths that sound as if they are coming from an animal. I can still taste the blood, smell it. The battle is won, Urish. They close in on me, saying, Time to claim our victory, Urish, hoping that this will make me understand that this is over now. What they do not realize is that I do understand. I just cannot do anything about it. My mind does not belong to me, and neither does my body. I am the Mad Dog, and I belong only to the curse that has plagued my family for generations. Now I feel as though I am a trapped dog, and there is only one thing that an animal such as myself will do when it is cornered. My fingers tense around the handle of my axe, and I narrow my eyes. Right now, it is either Loki, Ur, or the middle ground, the space between where there is nothing apart from the bodies of the dead and the mountains in the distance. Relaxing my fingers, I let my axe drop to the ground, hoping they will see this as a sign that I am listening and do not intend to hurt them. Then I bolt, my body still full of an energy that never seems to wane when the curse is upon me. I throw myself across the battlefield that is strewn with bodies and body parts of the enemy as fast as I can. In the distance, I see the mountains. This is where I will take myself and the rage that this curse has brought upon me. Only then can I know that my friends and my clan will be safe.
Chapter 3. Camille. A shiver chases down my spine as I search for the source of the sound. It was big, no doubt about that, and I could have sworn. Something above shakes the branches of a tree, setting a flurry of leaves loose before a furry little creature lands at my feet. I'm almost more surprised than the monkey, who stares up at me with big, curious eyes, holding a banana in its fist. Its tail swishes irritably, as if it doesn't quite know what to make of me. "Hey," I say, startling. "Where'd you get that?" It bolts before I can lean down, and I don't think twice, chasing after it through the dense underbrush. I want that banana. But most of all, I want to know where the monkey got that banana. Knowledge like that would be worth more than 100 meat rations, and we wouldn't have to put up with that rancid slop any longer. It's desperation that fuels me, spurred by the promise of a full belly. The monkey clambers up a tree where I can't reach it, but it keeps moving. They're tricky little beasts, but they're smart too. It wouldn't be fleeing without having a destination, and by the gleam in its dark eyes, it seems to think we're playing some sort of game. That's when I lose him around a wide oak. I skid to a stop and lean against the tree for support, listening. The monkey hasn't gone far, and I know once it moves, I'll know it. Sure enough, my patience pays off, and it leaps to a nearby tree, flying with all the momentum in its little body. "Oh, no, you don't," I call, though it does nothing to slow the beast. It's a monkey, what did I expect? A branch catches my foot and I stumble forward, but I manage to right myself in the same motion, focusing on the path ahead with keen eyes. I can't afford to lose the tricky creature, or any hope of finding that hidden banana grove is gone. There has to be more where that came from. I focus on what that food can do for Ivory and me. I could bring back a single hand and find ourselves fed for a week. A whole tree? We wouldn't know what to do with so much food. It keeps me oriented to the task at hand, catching that little bastard. It chitters as it leaps from one branch to the next, almost goading me on, teasing me. I let out a hot breath and keep up, barely. It's definitely getting away at this point, and it seems to know it, howling at me before vanishing among the branches again. I pause and stomp my foot. "Damn it!" I grumble under my breath, glancing all around. My heart sinks as I realise it really did leave this time, and I'm not sure where it could have gone. That's when I hear a distant scream of a monkey, all my senses heightening as adrenaline crashes through me. I'm not so far if I can just... Something catches my foot, and I trip again, but this time it's not a branch, but a warm corpse lying supine in the undergrowth. I twist mid-air, landing wrong on my hip. Pain lances up my leg and an explosive tingle overtakes it. I grip it, trying to rub the feeling back into my hot flesh, staring at the corpse in silent shock. I've seen corpses before, but not like this. Not an orc. My mind reels with how it got here, so far from any clan's territory, They're dangerous creatures when they're alive. I try to stand and let out a cry, instead, buckling back to the ground. It'll take a few minutes for my leg to wake up again, after hitting my hip so hard against a jutting root. I rub the spot and crawl a little further from the corpse, listening hard for the monkey's scream. The forest is quiet. I chew on my chapped lip in frustration. I'd lost the opportunity of a lifetime because some thoughtless clan decided to dump their dead in the middle of the woods. Couldn't they bury them like sane people? I glance at the corpse again, remembering they're not people. They're orcs, and I wouldn't want to run into whoever or whatever put it here. With more prudence this time, I look around the wild woods, realising how far I'd come. It wouldn't be impossible to find my way back, but it might take all day. I shiver at the prospect, hoping Ivory doesn't get too worried about my absence. I'll be home soon, I promise, silently, gauging the hour by the sun's position. There's still time to get back. Finally, my leg blossoms with a prickling pain, rousing the deadened nerves and making me rub it fiercely. It doesn't do much to quiet the grip of agony, but it quickly fades. I wiggle my toes in my threadbare shoe, happy to have the function back again. When I stand, I remember the corpse. It's not as big as other orcs, not quite, but it hasn't started decomposing yet, thankfully. Maybe if it had, I would have smelled it before stumbling over it. Even though I know Ivory needs me back at the bunker, I take another second to stare at its signature orcish features and lean limbs. It looks battle-hardened, and even in death, it wears a grimace. How many humans have ever really had a chance to study an orc's corpse? I'm no doctor, but it's fascinating nonetheless. Ivory will enjoy my retelling of how I got lost in the woods thanks to a tricky monkey and found an orc instead. But I do have to head back. I feel like there is something that needs to be said or done. Maybe I should offer the corpse some kind words or toss a handful of soil on it, or... I don't know. I shake my head and skirt the corpse, thinking how silly I am for caring so much about someone else's dearly departed. I throw back my tangled blonde hair and peer into the shadows of the woods, resigning myself to returning home with a few meagre and smashed mushrooms. It is good that my leg suffered no permanent damage, or I wouldn't be able to work, and we'd starve in this cutthroat world. Well, I say, glancing back at the corpse, I guess this is... Its eyes snap open to reveal yellow saucers, making me gasp. They home in on me before I even realise what's happened, and I tumble backwards before something firm snakes around my ankle and yanks me in. I brace myself and land hard against the orc's chest, realising he's not dead at all. In one swift motion, he rolls on top of me, pinning me to the earth. A scream is building in my chest, but it doesn't emerge from my lips as I gape at the frightening creature. It is one thing to witness the corpse of an orc, another thing entirely to come face to face with a living one. I can't stop staring, unable to breathe or think in the constriction of his arms. He studies me, his hot yellow eyes roving as he takes me in. At times, his eyes are unfocused, as if he's battling a concussion, but he remains in the waking world, refusing to let me go. I struggle, but he doesn't seem to notice, locked to the ground by his firm chest. I flinch and squeeze my eyes shut, hoping that if he's going to kill me, that he'll make it quick and merciful. That's when he speaks, his deep voice rumbling through me. What did you do to me? My eyes spring open to find him still staring, waiting for my answer.
Chapter 4. Urish. The human trembles beneath me, her florid cheeks draining of their color. I can't shake the weight in my head, or the beast of a headache that dragged me out of sweet unconsciousness. And this woman, what is her role in all this? That's when I realize I'm on top of her fear washing off her in waves that I can taste at the back of my throat. It threatens to spur the madness in my blood. "Can you not understand me, human?" I ask, letting my irritation leak out. She must be dumb. Or perhaps she's never seen an orc before. Her wide eyes and trembling lips speak to a creature caught in a snare. I rise up on one knee, the effort making my head pound, so I buckle with a groan and roll off her, cradling my throbbing head. I remember the fight, and almost losing my mind before running away to spare my clansmen of my mad fury. I remember Loki trying to stop me, then it all went black. I must have truly gone mad. But since I'm not covered in orc blood, I have to assume they were left unhurt. Guilt chases through me, but a pleasing scent washes over me, clearing my head and making all the colors brighter. I take in a deep breath, and calm settles over my heart for the first time in what seems like forever. I lick my parched lips and search for the source, realizing the woman is crawling away from me in an attempt to escape. Is it her? The wind is blowing in from the south, southeast, tangling her golden hair and bringing her scent straight to me. My brow furrows as that strange calm overtakes me, and I scramble up despite the pounding headache. Wait, I say, catching her in a vice against my chest and burying my nose in her hair. She lets out a pathetic yelp and struggles, but it's pointless. Her frail human limbs will never win in a contest of strength. This curiosity is getting the better of me, but I don't care to question it. I inhale deeply, realizing it is her. The god-awful ringing in my head stops, and for the first time I can think without the pulse of murder in my veins. It's incredible, like the magic of our shamans, but it works. I can't get enough of her scent. Even the smell of her fear is fading beneath her natural aroma. How can a lowly little human do this to me? She has stopped struggling and goes limp in my arms. My heart stalls at the thought. Maybe I gripped her too hard and suffocated her. If so, then that clarifying scent will fade, and I'll be left to my madness once more, to suffer it for the rest of my miserable days. I don't want that, and release her immediately, checking for any sign of a pulse. She remains limp for a moment longer before her every muscle tightens, and she scrambles away, staring at me with clever eyes before fleeing into the woods. I curse my weakness for letting her escape, almost impressed with her resourcefulness. But that scent, I can't give it up. I rise despite the horrid headache and chase after her, ignoring the tightening grip around my brain. Without that scent of hers, I'll lose this fleeting clarity and return to the madness that has consumed the whole of my existence. Stop! She doesn't. Damn it, I grumble to myself, pushing through the fatigue of battle. The little trick is going to get away at this rate. She'll run back to her people and they'll hunt me down, I'm sure of it. I must have lost my weapon in my flight, or I'd be glad to take on a bunker of angry humans. They wouldn't stand a chance against the curse. This one is not as dumb as she first seemed. I'll have to stop crashing through the woods like a brute and cut off her route ahead. As small as she is, she's fast on her feet. No wonder she's survived so long on this dangerous planet. I grin as I veer left before rounding out my pursuit, powering forward with all my strength. She's not getting away from me. I won't let her. As silent as I can, I follow her retreat from a distance, watching how she slows in confusion, thinking me gone. She's breathing hard, looking around with those bright eyes of hers as she picks her way back to wherever she came from. I carefully observe how she uses the sun to navigate, and when I'm confident of her direction, I cut her off, leaping into her path. Delicious surprise lights up those clever eyes of hers and makes her stumble backwards. She puts an arm up to shield her face. Please, don't eat me. I tilt my head, wondering why she thinks I'm going to eat her. But I don't have time to allay her concerns, already feeling the effect of her scent fading. My blood is beginning to boil, and I need more of her. She slides to the ground, blubbering incoherently. I draw closer in silence, my nostrils flaring as I recognize that same scent. It fills my mind with that analgesic calm, and I approach with less caution. You smell good, I murmur before I realize that I've spoken at all. It makes her cry harder. Please, she begs, her chest heaving. Please don't eat me. I'm not going to eat you, I want to say, but I couldn't care that she thinks I might. There's something about her that qualms my deepest rage, and I must have her. In one swift motion, I throw her over my shoulder. A scream escapes her, and she flails harder than ever. I almost preferred her gentle struggle when I didn't have my wits about me. If only she'd shut up. Her skinny knees jab into my chest, and her elbows strike my shoulder. They don't hurt at first, but they become an irritation. I curl my lip. Quit it. She doesn't seem to hear me over her crying and wailing. I remember now why I hate humans. A growl rips from my throat and I drag her back, hoping the murder in my eyes is enough to quash her protests. But she is inconsolable, pushing at me to get away, so that I almost pity her for her weakness. My hand wraps around her throat again, and I find that delicate vein beneath the flesh and squeeze just enough to cut the blood flow off to her brain. She tries to tear at my fist, but she is no match for me, and soon she slumps against my hard chest, unconscious. I ensure she's still breathing before tossing her over my shoulder again. I'm sorry about this, I murmur, though I know she can't hear me. Maybe you'll come to understand why I have to do this. I get no answer and am glad for it. The way back is peaceful as the wild creatures resume their calls and chirps and warbles. Everything is as it should be. Tranquil. Serene. How could I have lived so long without knowing what these words meant? I breathe in the fresh air with a new sense of wonder. The others are so lucky to know this feeling without hindrance, and I am finally at peace. I savor it as I walk back, taking in my surroundings as it takes all day into the night to find my way back to the base. When I return to our settlement, though, my clan will be pleased to see me, and I'm certain we can find out what it is about this woman that makes me sane. Perhaps we can even find a permanent solution to my curse.
Chapter 5. Camille. The world slowly puts itself back together around me as I rise towards consciousness. The first sense to return to me is sound. I can hear people talking, though I'm still too muddled to quite understand what they are saying. When I try to open my eyes, the world is hazy and still too bright, so I shut them again and give myself a little more time. I try to recall where I am or what happened, but I'm still trying to remember my own name. While my senses return to me with agonizing slowness, my memory is just a blank. And then, as if someone flipped a switch, my life and the last moments before unconsciousness snap back into focus. I scream as I sit bolt upright, half from the memory, half from the mistake of sitting up so fast after someone. Did he really put me in a chokehold? I realise I'm sitting on a bed, and there are 3 orcs towering over me. The bastard who kidnapped me stands between 2 others as they talk. They don't seem to care that I sat up screaming and just continue their sedate conversation. My abductor looks at me with an expression I can only interpret as hunger. A jolt of fear shoots through me as I think they're going to eat me. The spike of adrenaline clears the last of the fog from my head. To his left, an orc man with braided hair says, "I don't smell anything refreshing about her." I'm both terrified as they discuss the merits of eating me, and a little offended that the braided-haired orc sounds like he's off-put by how I smell. To my kidnapper's right, another male orc much larger than the other 2 says, "I agree. She seems pretty average to me." I never thought I could be insulted by someone describing why they didn't want to eat me, and yet I feel like the comment stings. But I'm not going to protest. I don't know if I could find the words even if I wanted to. My kidnapper continues to stare at me like I'm lunch. "What's your name?" he asks. Why would he need to know the name of the person he's about to eat? I say nothing. Instead, I wrap my arms around myself and just try not to shake in fear. I've got to get out of here. The problem is I don't know where here even is, let alone how to escape. But I have to. Ivory has been all alone for who knows how long. I can't tell if I've been out for moments or hours. I was already ravenously hungry before my kidnapping, so I can't even use the dull but insistent ache of hunger to tell me how long it's been. I doubt my captor would be willing to fill me in on how long I've been out, even if I weren't tongue-tied with fear. My kidnapper sighs and says, "You two can go." The others nod and walk out of the room, leaving me alone with the orc that abducted me. I guess he didn't want dinner guests who insulted his meal choices. My eyes dart around the room as I search for something, anything I can use as a weapon. I'm going to die here, eaten by the orc, but I'll be damned if I'm going to be an easy meal. I hope I'll give him indigestion. "My name is Urish," he says, breaking my train of thought. "It seems odd to introduce yourself to your dinner." "I'm commander of the Burning Suns tribe," he continues, either not noticing my confusion or choosing to ignore it. "Yrish, the Mad Dog." I earned that name because I tend to. He pauses, looking like he's trying to find the right word in the middle distance. "I lose myself in battle. My bloodline was cursed. Long ago, centuries before the orcs came here, one of my ancestors displeased a powerful being. Now, battle madness takes over, and it's a constant struggle to stay in control." He sits up a little straighter, and while his expression hasn't changed, I'm starting to feel like it wasn't hunger, or at least not that kind of hunger that tinged the way he looks at me. It doesn't put me completely at ease, but I do stop searching for something to try to feebly clobber him with. When I see red, I will wake up later, having no idea what happened. I come out on top in battle, but it's not all good. I strike ferociously, but blindly. I've hurt friends and allies before. He pauses again, looking at me like he expects me to respond somehow to this revelation. I stare blankly back at him and say, "I don't understand what you're saying. What does this have to do with me?" "When you found me, I was still in the grips of the madness, but then I smelled you, and something changed. My mind was clear. I have to know what it is about you that caused that. You brought me back to myself." I stop and start about half a dozen sentences before I eventually settle on, "What?" "Your scent chased away the madness, and I need to know why and how," he said. "I have no idea. I'm just an ordinary human woman. Nothing special about me that would explain why you could get over this curse by smelling me." I stumble a bit around the word curse. It feels strange to even imagine such a thing. There's still a lot about orcs I don't understand, but cursed bloodline is something far outside my realm of experience. I can't even begin to imagine I'd have any sort of magic that would counteract something like that if it even existed. After his bizarre explanation for the reason he kidnapped me, he seems less threatening. Not that he couldn't still tear me in two if he wanted, but more that I realise he doesn't want to. It's much easier now to gather up my courage and slip out of bed. "I'm sorry, but I need to get home. I have a young sister who needs me, and I've been gone long enough already. I was out in the woods to hunt for food when you found me. If I hadn't gone chasing after that damned monkey, I don't think we'd have met." I almost laugh but recover and say, "My sister is sickly and she needs food and medicine. It's just the two of us, so there's no one else who can take care of her. I have to go." I pause, waiting for him to object. But he doesn't yell at me or grab me. Instead, he just stares at me with an expression I can't even begin to interpret. I'm no expert on orc facial expressions or body language. I don't know if there is someone out there who could explain it all to me, but I assume that if he isn't saying anything or trying to physically restrain me, I'm free to leave. I'm almost tempted to ask him for the quickest way back to the bunker, but I don't want to push my luck. I take the first step and then another tentative one toward the door without turning my back to him. He continues to stare at me, apparently unperturbed by my desire to leave. I wait just a moment longer to make sure I'm not going to get in trouble for leaving before I turn and walk to the door. But then I hear his intake of breath, and I stiffen, ready for him to have a violent outburst or seize me and toss me back onto his bed. Something about that last image causes my stomach to do an unexpected somersault. But instead of grabbing me or screaming at me, he says in a calm, collected voice, "I have a proposition for you. It will be a win-win for both of us. Care to listen?"
Rosenfire, our family holds great weight and power in Orthani. And yet I hear whispers.
Do you think he can take him?
There is no way that this could happen.
No, more books. I can't remain locked in this ivory tower a moment longer.
She's perfect. The Baron's daughter must be found.
Julius, we shouldn't.
Why shouldn't we?
I am not a full dark elf. I do not possess their ethereal beauty. How will I find a mate?
The lowly Baron's son apparently has shown that he has the same gift of fire wielding as I, if not stronger.
I am the family's dirty little secret. I am not the future of the family. Dukan is.
This world was created from a seed of evil.
I propose we take Dukan out of the picture. Permanently.
Please, let me go.
If you want to join the poor humans who are bought and sold in the markets on a daily basis, you will find a way to get there.
I am free, and I am terrified.
You will never escape me.
I can try.
You will fail. Get seasons 1 and 2 of the Dark Elf series from worldsofprothika.com.
Prothika's magic is eternal. This series will show you why. Chapter 6. Camille. A proposition. I'm not sure I heard him correctly at first, but he continues. I swear to you that I will allow you to make your own choice. Just please hear my request. Orcs are creatures I try my best to avoid. It's easy enough to do in our bunker, as I'm never outside to see them pass through the woods, and I've never been to a trade fair or market. Still, I've heard of them. They're the reason my kind are sheltered in bunkers to begin with, and the reason our once great cities lie in ruin. Orcs are brutish thugs who dominate through strength. They make the head chef look like a docile kitten. It's not like them to ask for a human's opinion, or to offer them a choice. But what do I know of orcs, aside from stories? I turn around slowly, the way I would around an unpredictable, wild animal. He towers over me, lean but powerful, with green skin that reminds me of the mint growing wild in the woods. His eyes are clever, with a flash of good humour, and I find myself wanting to trust him. I don't. No one lives long in this world by being trusting, even if I am typically a good judge of character. There has to be some kind of trick he's pulling here, or some angle he's working. If I talk to him, I'm sure I can work out what he's trying to pull. What is his name again? Urish. At the sound of his name, his mouth stretches wide. Panic jackknifes into my throat and I scramble backward, seeing only sharp, vicious teeth. His mouth snaps shut and he sighs. I apologise. I usually just get straight to the point, but I was told humans require pleasantries. You were trying to be pleasant. The words escape me almost before I realise I've said them, and I almost apologise. Angering an orc is not generally a stellar life choice, but before I can say anything, he's already shaking his head. His mouth twitches into something almost soft, as though I have amused him. Like I said, he clears his throat. I am Urish, and you are? Camille. I realise that the terrifying flash of teeth was his attempt at a smile. My panic subsides, although my confusion increases. He is not trying to frighten me into compliance. Instead, he seems just as unaccustomed to humans as I am to orcs. What do you want from me? Really? I don't want to step into another situation where someone offers me a job, but really wants my body. Although, for some strange reason, the thought of touching Urish doesn't fill me with the same body-roiling nausea caused by the head chef of my bunker. I want you to stay. His lips twitch, but he holds them still. He doesn't want to frighten me again, I think. I don't know why your scent calms me, but it does. Stay here until I find the reason. I'll provide for you and I will keep you safe. My clan will not touch you, I vow it. I've heard stories of orcs and humans working together, but I know it to be rare. I also know that many humans would prefer it to be rarer, still upset at the destruction of their former society. But I've known no other life but this, and all the stories of great human cities are just that for me. Stories. Shelter and food are much more immediate concerns, and I've no moral qualms with orcs. Still, abandoning the only life I've known shouldn't be an easy choice. Surely I should feel some hesitance, regret. I hadn't thought the opportunity would ever fall into my lap like this, and I'm surprised how tempted I am to take it. But what are my other options? I cannot allow my sister to starve, and I won't be working in the kitchens again any time soon. There has to be a catch. And that's all you want from me? Just to stay here? He hesitates, and my stomach clenches. I can't shake the feeling that there is something he isn't sharing with me. To stay close to me, he amends. It won't work if I can't smell you. I'll need you close to me often, daily. Close to you? I swallow down a lump of fear. I am too aware of how small I am compared to him. He's a smaller orc, but he's still an orc. If he wanted anything from me, he could take it in an instant. Close to you how? Tell me what you plan to do with me. Urish shuts his eyes and sighs. Nothing. I plan nothing. I just need to stay calm, and for some godforsaken reason, you help me do that. You would just stand near me whenever summoned, and cooperate with our clan's shaman to complete simple tests, not dangerous, until we uncover why this is our situation. Will you help me? Food, safety, and a job that isn't back-breaking labour. Of course I'm tempted. I have a sister. I won't abandon her for anything, no matter the price. I will forage berries from the forest and catch wild game with my bare hands if I need to. If I can bring her also, and you can guarantee her safety, then I'll consider your offer. Yes, obviously. He nods like another mouth to feed is no consideration at all. Bring whoever you must. I will not force your decision, but I would like it soon. I'll leave so that you can think it over. He almost smiles again, but he presses his lips together instead. I have a strange urge to tell him I don't mind his terrifying teeth, and it warms me that he's attempting to be considerate of my needs. Could this actually work? Urish pauses before he goes and gives me a lingering glance. There's something almost beseeching in his eyes, as well as lost. I believe him when he says that he doesn't understand his connection to me. He seems as taken aback by the entire ordeal as I am, if not more. Urish nods one final time before he leaves, and I watch him walk off into the distance. He has a strong, purposeful gait. Nothing about our interaction makes me think he's being suspicious, other than the fact that it's almost too good to be true. No one in this world has given me something for nothing. Will he really feed my sister and I for nothing more than, what, a whiff of my hair whenever he becomes upset? The entire situation is so bizarre that I have trouble believing it. Not to mention he's never explained exactly what upset means. An orc's anger is much different than a human's. How dangerous is this assignment in truth? What if I don't always calm him, and I am summoned to him when he's lost all control? Our bunker had a dog once, a sweet girl. She worked hard to keep us all safe, and she'd even let a baby tug at her tail without retaliation. But she went off into the woods one day, and she came back with a foaming mouth and all kindness erased. The doctor said she'd gone mad. She bit a few men, and they went mad too. It was a bloody summer, and any cure had been lost to time. Madness, in our bunker, was death. It had been frightening when it was a trusted dog, and horrifying when it had been our men. What was it like when an orc went mad? This might not be the risk-free, easy job I thought. Either he's a sleazeball and doing a good job at pretending otherwise, or he's actually dangerous. But I've lost my job, and my sister must eat. Do I really have a choice?
Chapter 7. Urish. I look down at my warriors as they train for an inevitable next battle. Next to me on the raised viewing platform is his gaze facing straight ahead like mine. He has said nothing since the training session began, and yet I sense there is something he wants to get off his chest. Faster! I bellow at the men below me. A few of them tip their heads towards me, eager to please me, and certainly not wanting to incur my wrath. They do as I command, their speed picking up as they slice and crash at each other with their weapons. The sounds they make as they fight are music to my ears, and I revel in it, eager to know when our next battle will take place. I can already feel the madness in me starting to build, especially now she is not by my side. What of the human? Finally says. What of her? I reply irritably. She is none of his concern, but he is not satisfied with my reticence to speak of her. Is she doing what you have asked of her? I'm not sure what he is insinuating, but whatever it is, I'm not happy to even discuss Camille with him. You know that you do not need to give her a choice, surely. You are an orc, and a high-ranking one at that. You can just take her and make use of her however you see fit. I turn to him, wanting to see what his face will tell me. As I suspected, he is more than serious, his eyes narrowed, and that familiar authority etched onto his features. But I refuse to discuss this with him. I am the one that brought her back here, and I am the one that is most affected by her. She is no one's concern but mine. Refuses to give up. Make her give you what you want, what you need. I shake my head and gaze back out into the distance, far beyond the warriors that I should be assessing. I cannot risk such a thing. Forcing her could change the way that she is, and the effect that she has on me. The thought is not a welcome one. Since happening upon this human woman, something has shifted inside me, and I'm not ready or willing to go back to where I was before she came into my life. If there is a chance she can cure me, then I will not risk it. Heavy footsteps behind me tell me that Loki is joining us. The training is going well, I trust, he asks. Yes, I grunt. We are ready for whatever comes next. I am sure you are, Urish. With you as commander, how could they not be? I puff out my chest knowing that what he says is true. Though I am cursed, I am still the best commander that this clan has and will ever see. My men know this, and that is why we always win. I was telling Urish here that he does not need to ask permission from the human, however he wishes to use her, remarks My stomach starts to burn and my nostrils flare. And I was telling you that this is my decision, and now that I have a possible cure, I am willing to do anything to ensure I do not endanger it. I growl. Loki heaves out a breath through his nose. I agree with Urish. It is imperative that nothing causes further stress to the woman. If she does have a cure as you suspect, then it must be protected. I stare gloatingly at his face becoming harder. Nothing will convince him otherwise, though, even if his chieftain and 2 friends are telling him so. Call yourself an orc! She should do as she is bidden, he barks. It is all I can take at this moment as I throw my clenched fist in his direction. Somehow he manages to avoid my blow, an action that just angers me further. This orc is my friend, but there are times such as this when I would gladly beat him bloody. I have made it clear that I intend to keep her close, I spit. If she agrees, this is my proposition to her. She will be with me at all times and she will stay here at the base. Agreed, says Loki. I've told her that I will not force her into anything, and this is a commitment that I intend to keep. She will stay and undergo tests by the shaman. All she has asked as part of this proposition is that we bring her younger sister here as she is responsible for her. If you are sure this can work, Urish, then I'm willing to allow it if the human is amenable. This is nothing but idiocy. You can't even be sure that she holds any solution to your damned problem, argues. It could be nothing but a coincidence. He turns to Loki. How can we trust anything that he has to say on this matter? He is out of his mind most of the time. I kick out at him, sending him crashing to the floor. The wooden boards below us creak and groan with the strain of the assault upon them, but I do not stop. Pinning him to the floor, I press my face up against his, our tusks almost meeting. He looks back at me with steely eyes, unwilling to yield to me. Do it, Urish. You know you want to, and I will crush you and then you're damn human when I am done with you. He laughs and it enrages me further. Who would have thought that Yrish the Mad Dog would be so tamed by a pathetic human female? I'm not sure if the anger that erupts is because of my curse, or because he is right. But before I can rain down the blows that I intend, strong hands grab at my shoulders. "Enough!" cries Loki. "You are both men of rank, and I will not have you act this way in front of your subordinates." Before I have a chance to land one punch on I am pulled up to my feet by my chieftain. Still my eyes are on His disdain for humans is obvious, and so is the fact that he does not trust that this human, my human, has the power to break my curse. "Go!" Loki shouts at "Leave this with me." Does as he is commanded, storming away but still needing to have the final word. "Take care of your human, Urish, for all of our sakes." I make to follow him, but Loki stands in front of me, his braids whipping me in the face with the speed in which he moves. He is an expert at this by now. "He threatened my human," I say through gritted teeth. Is right. You need to be careful in this situation. Not everyone in this clan tolerates humans." His words spear me like a lance. He steps closer and locks eyes with me. "You should also be careful yourself, Urish. You have already claimed this woman, have you not?" There is nothing I can say or do except sink into the bench behind me. Loki is right. My possessive and territorial instincts are much stronger than others in the clan, and for someone like me, the Mad Dog, this can indeed be very dangerous. I'm suddenly aware that I have no idea what I should do in this situation, and even more aware that I have already claimed her. But she will not be here indefinitely, and I do not like to lose what is mine. Ever. Chapter 8. Urish. The urge to fight courses through me, a need so deep I feel it in my bones. It is part of who I am, and I no longer know whether it is because of the curse of just what I am made of. I march through the base, desperate to vent some of this anger before it consumes me. Any other time I would be glad for it too, but now that I have her in my charge, I cannot risk losing control, as Loki was keen to remind me earlier. At this point, I will do anything to avoid her. She does not need to see me like this. The fear alone could alter her scent, and the effect that it has on me. And besides, I'm now laden with another curse having claimed her, but knowing she will not be staying here. A barrel tumbles into my path and I kick out at it, splintering it into tiny fragments. The smell of ale rises up from the ground, and the orc who lost control of it rushes at me until he realizes who I am. He's taller than me, but that does not make him a match. "You wish to say something?" I yell. For a moment he bristles, but I fear I will not get a rise out of him, even though I could do with the fight. Idiot! What a waste of perfectly good ale! I make no mention of the fact it was me that destroyed the barrel, but for a second I wonder if he will. "I am sorry, Commander Urish," he says, standing tall but with his head bowed. "I cannot hear you!" "I am sorry, Commander," he shouts. I huff out a breath through my flared nostrils. I cannot justify a fight with him as much as my mind and body needs it. Instead, I leave him to it. Now, reeking of ale, I stride around the base until I am met with the sight of Jorgen. The head of security sees me coming and, sensing my mood, stops and inhales. "Urish," he greets me flatly. "What?" I bark. "A hard training session?" he asks genuinely. "What are you saying, Jorgen?" I growl. Nothing. Merely that you seem a little stressed. If you held the same responsibility as I, then you too would sometimes be frustrated, Jorgen. But you are nothing compared to me, so what would you know? I'll leave you to be on your way then. What? You have nothing to say? No, Urish. He looks at me without a hint of any malice, and I should have known I would not get a rise from him. Jorgen is the exact opposite of me, cool-headed and unwilling to enter a fight unless there is good reason. Ah! I storm off, leaving Jorgen to his business, more than unsatisfied at being unable to bring about a fight. Not many orcs would be able to resist such taunts, but then not many orcs want to with the Mad Dog. My thoughts return to her as I stride around the perimeter of the base. I know that she has been trying to talk with me, but so far I have managed to avoid her. I simply cannot think straight when she is around. She wants to leave. I know it. I'm just glad that no one has allowed her to do so yet without my permission. As I turn the corner, I almost send her crashing to the ground. She gasps, and her face tells me she is happy to have come upon me. Immediately, I try to leave, but when her hand catches mine, I am stopped in my tracks. I should push her away, do anything to be away from her, but I am scared of hurting her. "What is it?" I ask sharply. Her face works into a frown. "I have thought about your proposition, and I have decided against it." Her words shock me, and for once I am unable to speak. I knew that this would happen, although I had hoped it would not. I thought I had made a good proposition to her. Many orcs would not have been so generous. If it was just me, then I would gladly take you up on your offer. But how can I be sure that my sister will be safe on an orc base? I can't take that risk, you see that, don't you? The ringing in my ears becomes deafening, and it is only because she is close to me that I am not thrown into my wilder nature. I breathe her in, allowing her scent to now claim me. "Urish, will you not say something?" She looks up at me, but there is nothing I can say. The only thing I can do is stand here and breathe. I want to help you, Urish. Truly I do. I have already been to the shaman and spoken to him at length about what I eat and drink. It could be that the scent you are smelling comes from that, according to him. In return, I would appreciate it if you could take me home to my sister. She must be so worried. Her voice begins to tremble, and I can barely stand it, but she has shown herself to be helpful even if she does not agree to stay. I must therefore do as she asks. "Come," I say, leading her towards the huts where the traveling mounts are kept. It takes only a short while to get there, and we both remain silent, though I can hear her rapid breathing as she tries to keep up with my pace. The smell from the beasts pervades the air, and I notice that she holds her hand under her nostrils, though she says nothing. "Bring me my mount," I order as one of the mount hands approaches me. He nods and returns a few moments later with the beast, and I hear her gasp. "He is huge and beautiful," she says, reaching out to stroke its rough, dark coat. Her words send a bolt of something through me, but I cannot allow myself to be drawn by them. As she continues to pet the beast, I cannot help but marvel at her gentleness. She's like nothing I've ever known. I stop myself. "I need a bag of supplies, meat, grain, ale, nuts, and fruits," I say sharply to the orc that is hovering behind me. He dashes off, and I prepare for our journey back to the human settlement. "Did these horses come with you from—" She doesn't finish her sentence, and I know it is because she is uncomfortable talking about orcs and our invasion of this planet. "They were brought here from Prathika, yes." "Amazing," she says, her face alight. "As you requested, Commander Urish." The orc has returned with the supplies I asked for, and I open the sack to check they are satisfactory before handing them to her. "Food supplies," I say. Tears spring to her eyes. "I did not expect this from you. Humans never give food away." She looks up at me and smiles. "Maybe you are not as bad as I first thought," she says. Her words give me hope, not something I am used to. "Then will you help me again?" "Yes, I will." I nod, but deep inside I am in turmoil. We should leave now. It'll take a little over half a day's ride, so we'll need to camp even if we leave immediately. Or it may take longer, just so I can bide myself more time. "Of course," she says. "And thank you again, Urish." I help her up onto the beast and take my place behind her, knowing that I am about to lose her now. But there is nothing I can do. She has made her choice, and I must accept it.
Chapter 9. Camille. My legs are stretched wide across the enormous girth of the mount, and yet I am able to manage. The huge, warm body behind me is not what I was expecting. He engulfs me with his size, but somehow it is comforting, as if we fit together. His hot breath grazes the back of my head and neck, and I know that he must be looking down at me, almost feeling his eyes on my skin. I can feel my face colouring, our close proximity evident by the sharing of body heat. Urish is nothing like I at first thought. He is not like any orc. Not that I have ever known any, only of them. From what I have heard, they are nothing but animals. But this is obviously not the case. He is fierce, obviously feared by those in his clan. Of that there is no doubt. Yet there is also a kindness in him. He did not need to give me the bag of supplies, but he did. From what I saw at the base, their supplies are plentiful, but to humans from my bunker this is the equivalent of giving life to me and my sister, Ivory. I have no one that I can rely on, and food is hard to come by. He will never know just how much his generosity means to me. But I am not sure if he would even care. There is a menace about him, that is for sure. His curse, as he calls it, would also explain his demeanour, which is often irritable and abrupt. I would not expect a great deal of gentleness from orcs, but having spent a little time among them now, I see that they are as different in their personalities as we are. I can see that he struggles with something that not everyone understands, though his clan members seem to make allowances. "Are you okay?" he asks, breaking my train of thought about him. I almost flush again, as if he has heard my musings. "Yes, I'm fine," I say, shocked that he has asked after my well-being. We have been travelling for nearly 2 hours, and though my legs are starting to ache, I am still well. "If you need to rest, we can stop for a short while." "I'm good for now, maybe just a bit longer, and besides, I am enjoying the ride." He doesn't answer, and I wonder if maybe I have gone too far with my admissions. He grunts, and I almost fold in on myself with embarrassment. He leans down to my ear, his voice low and deep, and says, "Hold on." I smile, though I don't know why, and my stomach flutters. I almost want to sink back against him. The mount picks up speed, the wind possessing my skin as we rush towards our destination. I want to cry out, to scream into the wind, the feeling so liberating it is intoxicating. Behind me he is strong and purposeful, taking control of the mount and driving it forward while ensuring that I am safe and will not fall. We race across the landscape, covering huge amounts of ground thanks to this magnificent animal and his rider. The sun is high in the sky as we make for the horizon, passing the ruins of the planet's previous incarnation. Crumbling buildings, rusted vehicles, debris and detritus from a species partly annihilated and partly driven underground. Our bodies press together as we travel, and my breath hitches each time I feel him close to me. Never would I have thought I would be so close to an orc, and certainly not that I would enjoy it. Could it be that I have made the wrong decision? Should I have taken him up on his proposition? I feel more alive now than I ever have, and I find myself curiously drawn to the orc pressed up close to me. Life at the bunker is nothing but one of misery, but I know there's no way I can agree to his proposition, not with Ivory. She comes first, before my needs or happiness. I must stick to what I said, despite how this feels. All I can do is savour this moment, the wind in my hair, the sun on my face and him against my back. This life has never provided me with anything so wonderful, and I intend to soak up every second. At this rate, we will be back at the bunker before we know it. Then I will return to the daily grind of life there, unsure of what will happen next. I have been lucky enough to secure supplies from Urish, but I have a lifetime to think about. There is no way I can go back to the kitchens. I have well and truly burnt my bridges there. Somehow I need to find work so that I can feed us both and try to source the medicine that Ivory needs. It strikes me that this is the end of the journey for Urish and me, and there is something inside me that does not want to say goodbye to him. I have been so wrong about him and am curious about his life and his struggles. Once we have covered a serious amount of ground and a river appears, Urish brings the horse to a halt. I am breathless with excitement, already missing the rush of the wind. He jumps down and holds out his hands to help me. Can we do that again? I ask, unashamedly. He grunts and looks at me emotionless, yet in his eyes there is a sparkle. Please, I say when he places me on the ground. Rest now, he replies before leading the animal to the river to drink. He ties it loosely to a tree stump. Immediately I notice the pain inside my thighs from the ride and let out a small cry. And you want to go again? He says, a smirk on his face. Determined not to rise to his teasing, I stretch out. This time I keep my cries to myself, my thighs on fire and my backside sore. He walks back to his mount and takes a bag from the saddle. I join him at the water's edge, and he unhooks a tankard and fills it with fresh water before handing it to me. Thank you, I say, once again taken aback by his care. You will need it. We still have a long way to travel. Opening the bag, he hands me some bread, followed by dried meat. I wonder at how we could be still so far when I thought we were nearly halfway, but I say nothing. Maybe Urish is taking me the scenic route, and I won't complain about that. I smile at him and tear at the bread hungrily, shoveling it into my mouth. I take a bite of the dry, salty meat before I have even swallowed the bread. I see him smile for the first time. You eat like an orc. I'm as hungry as an orc, I say with my mouth full. I have lived on a few ounces of gruel back at the bunker for as long as I can remember. This is just... I'm glad you are enjoying it. He takes some meat from the bag and chews on it, his eyes still on me. We stand eating and looking at each other, and it is nothing but comfortable. You are a strange contradiction, I offer. I have been called many things, he replies, that smirk still there. Why have the shamans not been able to help you? Perhaps you'd better ask the shamans. How does their magic work? I had heard it was dying. You ask a lot of questions for someone so hungry. He tosses me an apple and I catch it, smile and bite into it. The sweet juices run down my throat and he watches as I swallow and take another bite. Eat up, and then maybe I will consider your request on the beast, if you can take it. I can, I say through a mouthful of apple. Please.
Chapter 10. Urish. Camille hesitates before touching a second slice of bread, so I slather more butter on it and push it into her grateful hands. She has learned not to ask before taking more. The gaunt lines of her cheekbones and ribcage fill me with rage and sorrow, but I know that, from the amount I'm feeding her, that they will start to soften in a few weeks' time. Makes me feel less selfish to know that I've brought her somewhere more nourishing than the bunker she came from, even as it angers me that the humans are either unable or unwilling to provide for their own. I pile another serving in front of her, and she hides a smile against her tankard of water. I can't eat any more, she finally says, pushing her plate aside. I've never eaten so much in my life. I can hardly move. Her smile drops a bit, now wistful, and I can guess that she is thinking of her sister, who is likely not eating half so well. Since she's been around, I've noticed so many details that I'd previously missed, lost to a daze of fury. Her refreshing scent has only grown, and now it is as though all of my senses have been upgraded and replaced. I watched the sunrise in the morning and marveled that there were so many colors I'd never taken the chance to see. Birds sang in the morning, and even the howls of the beasts in the woods sounded sweet to my ears, which had previously known only the thudding of my wretched, angry heart. I am not who I thought I was, and it is because of her. It pains me to let her go, but I have given my word. Perhaps I can persuade her to stay, if I can show her how well I can take care of her and her sister. You seem to enjoy orcish food very much. I enjoy any food. Her mouth twists, sardonic, and I once again admire how frank she is. She does not shy away from the fact that she has grown up with little, out of shame or anything else. She is proud of her meager beginnings, and it only serves to make me want to give her more. But yes, this is excellent. Your seasonings are different from ours. We have the same plants, surely. You use them differently, she insists. We use so many of our herbs for medicine instead, and it can leave the food bland, especially when there's an illness running around. Many orcs are working with human doctors now. Orcish magic is not as powerful as it once was, and our healing abilities have become increasingly hampered. I hope it doesn't affect the stew. She smiles at this, and I am pleased. It is such a strange sensation, this constant warmth in my chest, as opposed to the unsteady sensation from before. When Camille is near, it is as though I have never been more clear-headed. I have to figure out a way to convince her to stay with me. Perhaps if I get to know more about her and her sister, she will feel more comfortable. I keep my long teeth concealed and spread my hands in order to appear non-threatening. I've come a long way with my communication tactics since our first disastrous meeting. If it's because I've practiced endlessly in front of a mirror whenever I am alone, that is solely my business. Tell me about where you're from. I've never been to a human's bunker. There's not much to tell. Camille spins her water skin as she thinks. Much of it is underground to avoid detection. They were built when our species were not friendly with one another, and now it's too expensive to change them much. We do have a garden, but only authorized workers are allowed to tend to it. Are plants that difficult to grow? Gardening is not a skill for orcs, although it is one that we are slowly recruiting more humans to attend to as our magic continues to fade. Do you have plant doctors? They aren't easy, but anyone could follow the directions given for watering and such. As long as the weather is predictable, the crops are too. But some people eat more than they should. Not you. She almost laughs. I'm one of the worst offenders. I stole carrots twice when it was my turn to water them. They were too small to harvest and they tasted bitter to dig up that early, but you had to feed your sister, I guess. Camille doesn't strike me as a glutton, not with her formerly prominent collarbone and slight frame. My stomach twists, uneasy. I want her to have chosen to help me of her own free will, not because the alternative was starvation. I admit that I don't understand your settlement very well. Is it struggling with food? No. She's staring at something in the distance. No, not at all. Some of the workers, the chefs, they are very particular about who eats and when. There is enough game brought in by the hunters, and our farmers are skilled. I resolved that as long as I know her, neither she nor her sister will know hunger again. I'll bring them both with me, sooner rather than later. You didn't even touch dessert yet. What? I've brought a small cake from the kitchens. It's small, an orcish treat of folded dough that's been drizzled with honey, and I give it entirely to her. She thinks to protest for the sake of it, but she can't help but bring the fresh spoon I've provided to taste a tiny corner of the dessert. I've never seen anyone's eyes widen in delight like this. I would bring her 1,000,000 cakes for the rest of my life if I could. This is amazing. I know, I agree. That's why I told them to make it for you. For me. The confection is usually produced only after battle, and the chefs had been bemused by my request. It's an arduous task, and one that takes nearly the entire day to produce. I'd asked them 2 days ago to make it for me, thinking I could surprise her with it last night, maybe even to convince her to stay. But when she requested to go home, I decided to bring it along. Seeing how ravenously she's taken to all the food I bring her, I'd had to see her reaction. They can make it every day if you'd like. I don't care what favors I have to provide for the chef if I'm rewarded by this expression on her face. Do you have cakes like this at home? It's not a fair question, but I'm not feeling fair. I'm desperate. She has to know that her life will be better if she and her sister stay with me. And what of orcs like her? Not all orcs will be receptive to her. Some could even be dangerous. My hands fist at my sides. None will touch her. None will dare try. Her forehead wrinkles as she takes in my fisted hands, but she doesn't comment on them. Instead, she scoops up the last bite of honey cake and holds it to my lips. Her scent soothes my muscles, which have coiled in anger, and I shake my head. It's for you. Please. She leans over the blanket I've laid out, and the cake presses so close to my lips that I can taste the honey. I take a bite, and the sweetness nearly overwhelms me. It has been a long time since I've had cake after a battle. Typically at that point, I've already gone mad. I lick the honey from my lips to savor the taste, and she watches me. Her smile is small, and her voice has grown thick when she says, "No." I'm confused until she continues, "No, we don't have cakes like this at home." I'm not sure what to say. She seems more thoughtful than upset, so I just shake my head and she smiles in return. "Do you—" The ground shakes, and her sentence is cut off with a scream. The supplies scatter across the forest floor, and the clacking sounds drown out any other noise, till there is nothing left but the incessant ringing of my ears.
Chapter 11. Camille. The ground continues to shake, leaves and branches raining down onto us from above. Urish shields me, pulling me against his curved body, but I gather my courage and peek around him to look out the tent flap. Oppressive billows across the horizon, thicker than the clouds above, and so heavy that I cough despite the distance. A furious fire fuels it, burning red along the horizon. Urish turns away, but my eyes remain. I know that tree, the one that has stood for a century and is now collapsing beneath the flames. I know that small pond and the creek that feeds it. My bunker is on fire. Ivory. I've shoved my boots on before I can even think, and Urish follows me, bewildered. "You're safest here," he says. "I can protect you. Don't be frightened." I've never been more frightened in my life. That's my home. My sister. My words are jumbled, panicked. I look up at him, desperate for him to understand. "Please." That seems to be the magic word for him, because he relents immediately with a tight nod. "Fine. Stay here, and I'll find your sister." "You don't know what she looks like." He frowns at this, and I can tell he would rather leave me behind and scoop up every young girl who looks like me instead of carrying me into danger. But I can't let my sister's fate rest in anyone's hands but my own. I know that I will die before she is harmed. I can't say the same of him, no matter how kind he may seem. "I'm not safe here either," I say, "not without you to protect me." This finally convinces him, and he reluctantly pulls me along with him as we rush toward his mount. Urish dresses the horse with deft fingers. I'm surprised by the calmness of the animal despite the choking smoke. We don't know what happened or why, and an uneasy dread fills my stomach. There hasn't been a lightning storm, and my bunker is not immune to fire, but I can't think of anything that would cause a fire of this size, nothing natural anyway. Urish pulls himself up easily and reaches a hand down for me to climb. The horse's stomach reaches the tip of my head, and I have to jump in order to reach him. I almost slide back to the ground, but Urish's grip is firm and I attempt to settle myself behind him this time. My legs stretch uncomfortably wide, more so than when I was sitting in the front. Urish pulls me in front of him instead, and I ride with my legs both slung to one side as they are still sore. His arm presses me tightly against his chest, and the Hokin bolts down the hill toward my bunker. The smoke hangs heavy across the valley, but it thins as we climb the second mountain on the way. From this vantage point, I can see that the fire has only grown since we left our camp. The horse stalls, lingering near a stream at the mountain's base. Burning leaves fall from the trees, twirling in a burning dance amidst the black smoke. It looks like hell. Urish leans forward with a shout. His nose brushes against my hair, and the beast continues towards the fire with a nervous cry. It is not the only one. Many other mounts roam on the edges of the smoke, some with riders and some without. Humans flee, struggling to carry whatever they can as the orcs laugh and pile their riches even higher. Food, gold, medicine, clothes, and even goats are piled into a caravan. Anything they can steal has been stolen, and still they emerge from the bunkers, carrying even more. I try not to look at the blood that stains many of their riches. So this is why they've started the fire. A raid. A woman collapses outside the gate, doubled over and coughing. If Ivory is still inside, I don't have much time left to save her. We're closer to the bunker, right at the gates, and everything is burning. My face is hot, and I pull my shirt across my nose and mouth to block out the worst of the smoke. Ivory! No one looks at me, lost in their own collapsing world. Infants cry in the distance and everyone is screaming. I'm just one more voice in the void. My throat burns from screaming through the smoke, and my throat feels like knives as I swallow. I scream louder. Have you seen Ivory? Michael! I call out the name of the guard I've known all my life. He shoves past me, panicked, as a mounted orc descends on him. The orc stops. He tilts his head at me, curious, and then he grins. He's large, larger than Urish, with darker green skin and tusks that wind past his ears. He pulls up on the reins of his horse, bringing it to a stop just shy of my nose. It must not matter to him why I'm not running, only that I'm easy prey. I step back. He reaches behind his back and pulls a long, curved blade free. It doesn't shine. There is no sun here beneath the smoke, and the blood that slowly drips down from the metal and onto the hot ground covers any bit of silver that might be left. He is going to kill me, and still I search for my sister. I have to know she's safe, even if it's the last thing I ever see in this life. My eyes desperately scan the retreating humans, and I am so caught up in seeing Ivory for the last time that I never see Urish move. To be fair, the orc doesn't either. 1 minute he is mounted on his horse, and the next he is sailing through the air, blade in hand. The beast rears up on his hind legs, kicking desperately, but Urish's aim is practiced and true. Hot blood spills against my cheek. The orc falls, shocked, and the horse runs from the growing fire. His foot has tangled in the saddle, and his lifeless body slides down the hill and through the creek alongside the fleeing mount. Every orc turns. There must be more than a dozen, but I am too panicked to finish an entire count. Urish squeezes my shoulder with one hand and brandishes the machete he used to kill the orc with the other. His eyes are calm. What are we going to do? I expect him to try and talk me into retreating back to the woods until he can bring reinforcements. It would be sensible, but the fire is too high. I have to find Ivory. If we're quick, I think we might be able to escape into the woods together and have him and his clansmen find us afterward. I'm babbling this, half conscious of my words, but at the word escape his lips curl in disgust. I realise that he intends to fight them all at once. Urish. He shoves me to the side, not hard, but enough that I am out of the way when an orc charges at him. He catches the man's side with his machete, as easy as chopping a salad, and brings the blade back to guard his front as if nothing had happened at all. Go find your sister. Urish raises his machete high, and the remaining orcs roar with adrenaline. He soars into battle, and I force myself to run away from them all and towards the belly of the fire. Hold on, Ivory, I'm coming. There isn't much left of the world after the orcs came.
Savage. Brutal. Merciless.
If you're a woman, you're property. Even to other humans.
What happens when an orc stakes his claim on a human woman? Who would dare to stop him?
Me.
Chapter 12. Urish. Camille runs toward the bunkers and screams her sister's name. I don't want to let her go alone, but I don't want her next to me in the midst of battle. Not that I doubt I will win. My foes are many, but this is what I was built for. Killing is as easy as breathing for me. I won't let a single orc touch a single hair on her head. She turns and looks at me before she disappears into one of the bunkers. I can see the worry in her eyes, and I shake my head. It warms something inside me to think that in the midst of all this, she could spare me even a shred of the fear she must have for herself and her sister. But I don't need her concern, and I don't want her anywhere next to me as I sink into the frenzy of battle. "Go!" I shout. She's safer with the fire than she is near me. I know that I will win this battle. I don't know if I will stay sane. Anticipation already brings every bit of my hair to stand on end, and my heart already beats quicker. Most orcs love fighting, and I love it more than most. It would be easier if I didn't. "What, are you going to stare us to death?" The other orcs snicker. They are drunk on blood and death, and eager to avenge their friend whose body has been drugged downfield. We step toward each other, and each step is a promise of what is to come. We step over bodies and fallen goods. Humans flee in the distance, but they are ignored. The caravan has already been stuffed full, and an orc is a much more satisfying kill. "What clan are you?" An orc spits in reply. I try again. "I will spare your lives and battle your chieftain, if he has any honor. You don't need to die here." The orc spits again. "Very well. Don't be scared, sweetheart." An orc on a Hokeen sneers down at me. "We'll send you to our god quickly. We still have business to finish up here." I shrug. Killing one orc or dozens, it's all the same to me. If they need help removing themselves from this plane of existence, then I'm more than glad to be of service. Fire roars and pops in the distance, and the smoke blocks the sun. My foes stand before me as silhouettes. They are many, and I am one, and the fire creeps ever closer. I can tell by their bloodthirsty grins that they believe this will be an easy fight. But my curse is a blessing for the god of war. I swing the machete high, and it clangs against the opposing orcs. The song of our metal dancing drowns out the screams of humans escaping. An orc with a long braid swings at my side, and I dodge, but not enough. Blood wells up from the shallow wound, but I don't feel it. I don't feel anything but the thrum of my blood, hungry for battle. The orc swings again, and my machete catches him beneath the chin. The Hokeen-riding orc senses an opportunity, and he leaps down as I free my machete from his compatriot's head. That is his first mistake. "Your human girl looks tasty," he taunts. "I think I'll take a bite out of her once I'm finished with you." And that is his second. He never sees the dagger. I bury it just beneath his ribs and twist. His Hokeen flees, startling the others. The fire creeps closer, and now the animals fear for their lives. The orcs who ride them are not so wise, and those foolish enough to attempt to stay on their mount are thrown to the ground already littered with bodies. Another orc tries to attack from behind, but I've anticipated the ambush, and he slides to the dirt with a grunt. I have missed this. Battle is in my blood, and it feels good to give in to the primal urge to kill. My enemies outnumber me 20-1, even after my current kills. But they could outnumber me 100 times, and I would still win. The orcs descend upon me in a mass rage. They're not unskilled, even if they are so low as to stoop to raiding defenseless humans. The orcs form a circle around me, and I'm surrounded by swords and warhammers, fists and clubs. A sane man would surrender, but I am not sane. Red tinges my vision. I am a warrior, a conqueror, a killer. I was made for this. Some of their blows connect. A sword slices my shoulder. A hammer strikes a shocking blow against my jaw. Each wound is nothing but a reminder that I still breathe. Humans use machetes to harvest wheat. I've watched them in the fields, swinging throughout the day. One swing could feed a family of 10 if the farmer is strong. I am even stronger, and my machete harvests souls. "We'll share the spoils with you," an orc pleads. "You can join us. We need fighters like you." I have to shake my head in order to see. The red that tinges my vision has overwhelmed it. That's fine. I don't need to see or to think or to feel. My blood thrums like the beat of the war drum, and my laugh echoes in my ears like it would in an empty cave. I don't want your spoils. My smile is a weapon. The remaining orcs shrink from it. How many are there? It doesn't matter to anyone but our god, who they will be joining soon. I want your blood. I want it to spill so thick that it replaces the water in the creek below. He's crazy, just finish him. I can't. Try to outflank him. We've tried that 3 times already. Ivory. The red of my vision recedes for a moment. Camille. Camille is searching the growing fire for her sister. I've not feared a moment amongst my enemies, but that is the cold snake tightening around my heart. The thought that she could be hurt seizes me entirely, and I almost abandon the fight entirely. She's only human. Fragile. I have to finish this fight and help her before the fire grows out of control. A blade sinks into my thigh, and I'm drawn back into the fight. If I give up now, I'll only draw more orcs into the human settlement. I chop off the orc's hand and he screams. The hand is still gripping the dagger as it falls. He looks at it on the ground that is wet with blood, and his eyes roll back into his head before he too falls. Blood arcs from the arterial wound and sprays across my face. I lick my lips. All conscious thought is gone. I move without thinking, driven by instinct. Battle is like a dance, and I surrender to the rhythm of it. A small voice, buried inside, urges me to slow down and think, but the surge of victory is too addictive. My foes fall until only a few remain. I relish the terror in their eyes, and I drink in their last breaths, and I am like a god in this burning valley. The fire burns in the distance, devouring everything it touches, and I am the same. My red vision is its own fire, and it hungers for more. My mouth stretches open of its own accord, and I roar like an enraged lion. Orcs surround me, dead or dying, and those that remain quake as I approach. They will soon join their comrades in death, and the thought brings me only emptiness. What is a fire without something to burn? I want more.
Chapter 13. Camille. Heat sears my face, but I would run into a burning building or bunker 1,000 times over for my sister, and there is no way I will stop. The smell in the air is thick and pungent, a mix of burning flesh and acrid smoke. Ivory. The smoke assaults my throat and I cough as I stalk around the settlement. For a moment I wonder if I will be able to make it. The fire seems to be growing by the second, and in no time at all it will have consumed this place. But I can't give up. I can't leave her here. She is everything to me, and I have already let her down. She must be terrified beyond belief, and I am almost breaking thinking about how she will be suffering. I must get to her, and hope that Urish can fend off the marauding orcs. His face is still etched in my mind, a fierceness I've never witnessed before, as if he has harnessed all of the pain and rage of this troubled world and made it his own. I see now why he talks of being cursed. He has gone from one creature to another within the space of a few moments. I have seen such a different side to him today, but this one terrifies me. But at the same time I feel grateful for his ferocity. He has certainly driven the raiding orcs away from the bunker, nearly all of them now engaged in combat with him. The sounds of weapons clashing and bodies heaving adds to the carnage. Concern for him almost weighs me down, but rationally, I know there is nothing I can do to help. I would be torn to shreds within seconds. If what he and others say about him is true, then I have to believe he can deal with this situation. The screams and roars echo around the chaos that was once my home as I tentatively make my way across the settlement. These orcs may be bigger and stronger than me, but I have the advantage of knowing this place. It is all I have ever known, and now it crumbles and burns around me. I'm terrified, but the need to get to my sister outweighs the fear that crashes through me. I just hope I am not too late. If anything has happened to her, I will never forgive myself. It is hard to see through the smoke, but I can hear the wails that come from the ground, the people from my bunker who cry out for help. If I could, I would help them all, but I must find Ivory first. Bodies are strewn across the ground, some crying out and others silenced forever. It is a scene from a nightmare, something that we have always dreaded, that one day the orcs would come for us. Finally, at the entrance of the underground bunker, I see there is a figure on the ground. He holds the door, and I can't tell if it is to keep orcs out or people in. Either way, he will stand no chance. "Get up!" I cry. "You must leave." "They have taken everything," he replies, his voice small and desperate. "Not my sister, please not her." The door flings open from the other side and a tall man with broad shoulders emerges. Immediately I recognize him as Patrick, the leader of the bunker. His face is panicked, his eyes full of fear. He is usually so strong, stern even. I've never seen him like this, and it's unsettling, another layer of security being ripped away from beneath me. "Get out of here now while you can," he says to me with urgency. "There's nothing we can do, Camille. The bunker has fallen." "But my sister, Ivory, I need to—" "Your sister has been taken with the other girls and women. If you do not go, then they will take you as well." I want to spill the contents of my stomach onto the ground. My head spins and my stomach churns. They have her. "Where?" I can't even finish the sentence. "They're out in the wild, in carriages. For transport. Looks like they intend on taking them all." His face is grave and his voice wobbles. "Do you know where?" "They were last seen close to the old church, but I don't know if that's changed. I mean it. Leave now or they'll take you too. You've heard what they do to human women." The images that he and this society have placed there flick through my mind. I don't doubt that there are many orcs that would do such things to women, but there are also the ones like Urish, who has never laid a finger on me and looked out for my well-being. And there are many human men that treat us just as badly. I know the place he talks of, the ruin that people worshipped at in happier times. I turn and bolt for the wild, taking no notice of the warnings that Patrick is calling out to me. This time I avoid the battle that is taking place between Urish and the raiders and sprint to the perimeter gate at the west side of the bunker. From here, it will be easier to reach the church ruins. They are not far away. The bunker burns behind me, my home, the only thing I have in this world except for my sister. If I were a religious person, like many that came before me, I would pray for those that I leave behind. But this world has a way of taking such hopes and crushing them to dust. My lungs struggle for air as I run, the smoke not helping as I race to find Ivory. I can see them. In the distance, not far from the church, I can make out the shape of the carriages that Patrick described. I want to scream her name as I run, but I know this wouldn't be wise. I am already putting myself at risk here. Besides, I can see the figure of an orc guarding their horde, women and girls. I drop to the ground, the long grass offering me some cover. What the hell am I going to do now? Crawling closer towards them, I can hear their sobs. The sound is pitiful, and my heart is filled with both sorrow and anger. How dare they? My breathing has softened, but my chest is still tight with fear. I creep closer and closer, nearly throwing up with terror, when my foot lands on a dry twig. Immediately the orc turns in my direction, and my heart almost stops. I quickly duck behind the small bush to my side, and hope with everything that I have he didn't see me. But he senses that something is amiss, and gets closer and closer to me. I cover my own mouth for fear I might scream or breathe too loudly. He is almost upon me when one of his clan comes running towards him. "Go! We need to go!" he shouts. The orc close to me holds out his hands in disbelief. "What do you mean? It's not time." "It is definitely time. Now move. Most of our men are dead. There is a monster out there. We can just—" His words are cut short by the axe that slices him in two. His body slops to the ground, a sickly and gruesome display that makes me sick to my stomach. From behind him, Urish appears, his face crimson with the blood of the raiders. His eyes are wild, and he growls like an animal. I collapse onto the grass, every part of my body trembling. This is not the Urish that I rode with and ate with. This is a monster. What should I do? Chapter 14. Camille. The other orc is dead on the ground before I can even blink. His empty eyes stare at the smoke-filled sky. I should be relieved. No more enemy orcs remain. But Urish's eyes are just as dead as his fallen foe. He looks at the carriages with no recognition, only deadly curiosity. I have no doubt that he will kill the women and children trapped inside just as brutally as he vanquished the orcs. Like a mad dog, all he craves is violence. So this is what he meant about madness. The mad dog Patrick killed had seen the world with the same eyes when it turned. It snarled at everyone, even the kind-hearted woman who'd originally brought him in out of the cold when he was nothing but a starving pup who stole scraps from the kitchen trash. Patrick had told me that no one could reason with a mad dog. It wasn't their fault, but they had to be put down. This isn't the same. He's still in there. The axe leaves a trail of blood and gore as he drags it behind him. He steps toward the carriages slowly. The women shriek. "Please, let us out!" They shake the frame of the carriage, but it's been built for human transport. The bars are strong and locked. "Please, someone!" I sink back into the tall grass and press my hands against my eyes. I tell myself that they might be safer inside the carriage, but how can I know? My fingers tremble against my face and I screw my eyes together, tight. Maybe he will just walk by, and I can free them after. "Please!" The plea makes my heart skip a beat. Ivory. I look up, and there she is, pressed against the corner of the carriage. Her eyes are defiant, and she yanks against the carriage bars as though she could tear them apart with her bare hands. She's always been the bravest between the two of us. I take a deep breath. I can be brave too. I can't let him hurt my sister. "Urish." My voice doesn't tremble, but my hands shake. I twist them behind my back so he can't see. I don't know if sensing fear will tip him further into the madness he's fallen into. He said that I calmed him. I have to hope that's still the case, and that he's not gone too far. But the closer he comes, the more I fear I'm too late. The other orcs had called him a monster, and he looks like one. Blood covers him from head to toe, so much that he looks more red than green. His dead eyes find mine, and they gleam with malice. He's a walking nightmare, like something out of a campfire horror story. "Urish." I force myself to step forward. "It's over. You're okay." He shakes his head like a dog, and splatters of blood land on some of the women in the carriage. They push away from the bars, squeezing against each other. My sister cries out my name before she's smothered by the other women, but I don't dare look in her direction. I keep my eyes locked on Urish. "It's me, Camille. We're friends." I swallow. My throat is unbearably dry, and my voice finally cracks. "I can help you. You've been hurt." He's been more than hurt. He looks as though he's run through a violent gauntlet, even if most of the blood is not his. An open wound gapes in the back of his shoulder, and a small blade sticks out of his shin like a thorn. He walks steadily, as though it's nothing but a minor nuisance. In this state, he's impervious to pain. He walks steadily towards me, and he doesn't drop the axe. It swishes through the grass. Dread sinks my stomach as he approaches, but I stand my ground and lift my chin. The women in the carriages sob like they're about to witness a tragedy, and I'm not sure they're wrong. Urish walks closer, and I pray that someone shields Ivory from seeing the worst. I stand, hands open, and try to look calm. I tell myself he would never hurt me. A low growl rumbles in his chest, and he tilts his head, considering me. There is nothing in his eyes. He steps until I am a breath away from his naked, bloody chest. The axe remains in his hand, but his hands do not move. He stands like a statue, and if I look close, I see that his muscles are strained. He's forcing himself to remain still. I have to tilt my head all the way back in order to see his face. A primal fear jolts as I expose the vulnerable expanse of my neck, but I have to see his eyes. They're no longer dead, but cloudy, as though he's woken from a deep sleep. Everything is okay. It's a lie, of course. Dead bodies surround us and the fire has destroyed so much. He's lost his mind, he's covered in blood, and I'm not entirely sure he's not about to split my skull open with his axe in front of my little sister. I lie anyway. Everything is fine. You don't need to fight. He breathes in, deep and sudden. The breath freezes in his lungs, and his eyes are too hooded to read his expression. On instinct, I stand on my toes and reach for his face. My fingers graze his cheek, warm and slick with blood. He allows it, like a well-behaved animal. He's not an animal, I chide myself. He's a good man, and he risked losing control just to save you. How unbearable it must be for him to lose himself like this. No wonder he was so desperate for me to stay with him. I feel guilty for ever questioning his motives, doubly so when I think about how he refused to coerce me into helping him. As terrified as I am, how much more terrible must it be for him to hurt those he cares about? I caress his other cheek more firmly this time. I'll help you. Tell me what you need. I swear I'll do it. Mine. The axe falls. Urish pulls me against his body, fierce and possessive, and breathes in my scent. Mine. I nod against his chest. Blood stains my clothes and my face, but I don't care. All that matters is that he's coming back to himself. Urish sinks to his knees and I cradle his face. His entire body shakes. It's okay. Mine. I've never heard him speak like this, so wrecked and desperate. He's killed more than a dozen orcs, and all I want to do is keep him safe. I'm yours, I assure him. Of course. His eyes blink up at me, heavy and slow. His vision is cloudy still, and I know this is not wholly the Urish from before. Not yet. But I'm unafraid. I know that Urish is there, underneath all the blood and adrenaline, and that I can bring him back. I stroke his eyebrows until his eyes droop closed. He slumps to the ground, exhausted from battle, and I try to ease his fall the best that I can. The women begin talking amongst themselves, and I know that my sister must be watching, but it takes me longer than it should to leave his side. He looks so helpless on the ground. He isn't. The blood staining the ground around us is physical proof that he is anything but helpless. If I hadn't been able to calm him down, he might have destroyed the entire bunker's worth of people. He's probably the most dangerous creature in these woods, but not to me.
Chapter 15. Urish. Urish. Moonlight filters down through a heavy canvas above, reminding me that it is no longer daytime. When I try to move, every muscle is stiff from fighting again. Waking in a strange place is not unusual with my curse, but who erected the tent? I lost myself to the battle again. A groan escapes me and a warm palm presses to my forehead. Familiar bright eyes peer down at me, filled with relief. You're finally awake. I wish I weren't, I grumble, trying to moisten my parched mouth, but her scent is permeating the very air here, which has stemmed any residual madness. It is a relief as I throw my head back against the bedroll she laid out for me. I sense another, silent presence, but don't bother to acknowledge them if they are too afraid to speak in my presence. It is just the three of us, huddled in the darkness. Where are we? Just outside of the bunker, comes Camille's reply. You've been asleep since nightfall, and it is very late. I didn't expect you to wake up so soon. When she moves to withdraw her hand, I catch her wrist and yank her back in. Camille lands on my chest with a small oof, our eyes locking. I don't want to lose this scarce sanity again, but I cannot keep her this close forever. It is an unreasonable arrangement for the both of us. My voice is tense when I finally release her arm and allow her to rise. Sorry. She doesn't answer right away, fixing her hair as if to keep her hands busy. It's fine, she says with a hard edge, adding, My sister is here in the tent with us. My gaze finally slides to the other figure, curled up in the corner. The girl is older than I imagined she'd be, but still very young. I get a sense that she is not keen on orcs, because she has remained mute since I woke. Does she speak? All the time, but she's had a fright, like the rest of the women. I furrow my brow, trying to remember and coming up empty. What happened? Camille licks her lips. The bunker was being attacked by other orcs. They rounded all the women and girls up, but you killed them all before they had a chance to get away. After you did, you passed out. There seems to be some details missing in her story. I can put it together based on what I know about my own ailment, but how did she manage to keep me from hurting the innocent? I put it to the back of my mind, knowing her people would have punished me already if I had harmed one of their own. In my daze, I slowly realized that my clothes have been replaced with clean ones, and my wounds have already been wrapped. Did she do all this while I was out? I look at Camille with new eyes. She doesn't meet my gaze for long. Do you need something to eat? I want to tell her no, and that she's done more than enough for me. But my gut rumbles out an answer to defy my manners. I grimace at the sound and rise, making the small child curl up tighter against the tent wall. I ignore it and peek my head out of the flap door. All around us is the bustle of humans, mostly women, who are going about their evening duties or stoking the fire at the center of camp. How resourceful humans are, even in the light of tragedy. I am impressed. I dare take a step out with Camille following close behind. The other humans don't take well to my presence, screaming when they see me and running when I approach. I stall, lest I send any more fleeing, and chew on my lower lip. Don't worry, Camille assures me with a hand on my arm. They'd be afraid of any orc that crossed their path, especially after yesterday. Such kind words. It is unfortunate that I know better. They saw me for what I am, and what I am is monstrous. I've seen how my own clansmen flinch when the curse threatens to consume me. I resign myself to hiding in the tent for their sake. The little girl inside is braver than most, second only to Camille. I'll get you some food, Camille promises. I'll only be a moment. I grunt as she makes sure I'm settled again before ducking out of the tent. I try to ignore the heavy presence in the corner. She's only a child and probably doesn't understand much of what is happening around her. Hello, comes a little voice. My eyes flit to the corner where the girl has levered up on her knees. I can see that she's shaking, but she's bold, like her sister. I try my best not to smile, because it only serves to unnerve the humans. I'm no good at the practice anyhow. You must be Ivory. She nods, her hair bouncing around her face. Have you ever seen an orc before? She nods again, worry flashing in her bright eyes. Yesterday there were many orcs. Did they hurt you, little one? Only a bit, she says, rubbing her upper arm. They grabbed me right out of the bunker and threw me in a cage. But then you came, and they died. You were so fast we almost couldn't see you. I grit my teeth at what she was put through. Do I frighten you? She neither nods nor shakes her head. It's okay to tell me the truth, I urge gently. It's nothing I haven't heard before. Ivory scans my expression before speaking, crawling out a bit further from her nook. A little, but Camille stopped you. She called out to you and you fell to the ground. She told me you're sick, that you can't control when you get angry, but that she can help. She said you promised to take us somewhere better where there's lots of food. A genuine smile finds me. I did. We were already on our way to collect you. Ivory crawls forward on hands and knees, her fear evaporating as she sits beside me, riveted by the idea. That's what she said. Are there other kids there too? A few, I say, passing over the fact that they're Orcish children. I think you'll like our clan once you get used to it, and we have feasts often, especially in fall. I already do like it, she says, her naivete charming. Grins are exchanged, and she falls into a crisscross position. I've never seen her smile so much. She's always working, and I barely ever see her, but she said things are going to change for us. I nod. I'll make sure of it. It's the least I can do. Hey, I say after a while. I have a question. She waits expectantly. Did your sister dress me and tend to my wounds? No one else would come near the tent, she says, honest in the way only children can be. Even though you saved us, I don't understand why they're so scared of you. I chew on that thought. She cared for me all on her own in the face of her people's revulsion. She tended to an orc who kidnapped her, when she could have left me to die or killed me herself. I owe her a great debt, it seems. Ivory shrugs her narrow shoulders. Your sister is a kind soul, I continue, more to myself than to the girl. I've only known her a short time, but I did not expect such hospitality from a human. Is she always like that? The girl smiles and continues talking, but I'm distracted by the sweet scent that settles my nerves. I don't hear Camille nearby, but my senses don't often lie. I breathe it in and enjoy the bright chatter of the girl who has finally warmed up to me.
Chapter 16. Camille. Despite our circumstances, a sense of deep joy overcomes me. The way that Ivory and Urish speak is touching to me in many ways. The bravery of my sister never ceases to amaze me, and the ability and willingness of Urish to try to put her at ease makes my heart sing. For a while I stand here, hidden from view, and just listen. As ever, Ivory is curious, but Urish is also keen to know more, especially about me. It sends a flutter through my belly, and I find myself smiling as he presses her for more information. Your sister is a good protector, he says. She's always looked after me. Do you like life here at the bunker? Are you treated well? Is she treated well? I can hear the concern in his voice. I would not want to tell either of them how I have been treated here, how many of the women are treated here by men who think that this world and everything in it belongs to them. It has always torn me in two, thinking that Ivory would grow up in this world, and that her fate would likely be the same as all of us women that have been born into this. She deserves so much more. We all do. She works really hard, Ivory says, and I know she worries about me and about feeding us both. I don't think she liked her last job much. She seemed sad. He says nothing for a while, though I can almost sense his emotion in the air. Sorrow, fear, anger. You must have missed her when she was away, he says eventually. Yeah, I really did, and I was so worried. Her voice changes, almost a tinge of excitement in it. I never would have thought she would be with orcs like... She trails off, and I hear a small grunt come from him. For the second time, I wonder whether I should reconsider his offer again. Now that Ivory has met him, and knowing how protective and fierce he is, maybe she would be safe back at his base. I am certain he would never let any harm come to me, and I am sure this would now be the same for her too. After all, it's not looking likely that this bunker will withstand this attack. The buildings are ruined, many are dead, and now that the location has been discovered by orcs that are not friendly, most of the survivors are keen to move on someplace else. But I still can't be sure that Yurish's clan will welcome us. Though he has proved himself to be kind and caring, there are still many others that may be more like the ones that have just ransacked my home. Camille? Is that you? Ivory says, spotting me from the corner of the tent. Yes, it's me, I say softly. I didn't want to interrupt your conversation. Ivory beams at me, and Urish has a look on his face that I have never seen. It is almost one of contentment, if that is even possible. I need to speak to Urish about something important. Can you go and see that our water supply is topped up, please? She rolls her eyes but gets up. Sure, she says flatly, padding over to me at the entrance of the tent. Urish raises an eyebrow as Ivory leaves the tent. Is there something wrong? I walk over to him, his huge body taking up so much space inside the makeshift accommodation. I'm not sure where to start, but I need to discuss this with him. No, nothing is wrong. Are you sure? Your face says otherwise. He stands and places a hand under my chin, tipping it up so that he can look at me. I look into his eyes, so different to how they were after the battle. Now they are calm and still, and there is a depth to them that I would like to explore. I've been thinking about your proposition. So much has changed in such a short space of time, and now this, and... Shh, Camille. It has been a testing time, of that there is no doubt, but you will find a way. I take a deep breath, letting it out through my nose to try and calm my racing mind. The bunker, our home, well, there is no way that it can survive this. I have said I want to help you, and I mean it. I want to reconsider taking you up on your offer and just seeing you with Ivory. Well, it made me wonder if that would be possible now. He looks deep into my eyes, and I see the hope that now lives there. If that is what you want, then of course it is possible. His face is soft, and I hear him breathing me in. But how can I know that we'll be safe? I need to keep my sister safe, Urish. He cups my face with his hands. You will both be safe, I can assure you. Not all orcs are like the ones that you found here. The thought of it makes my stomach turn. Fear of the animals that destroyed this place is so deeply embedded in me, I am sure I can never be rid of it. It has been drilled into me, into all of us from the moment we were able to understand. A terror that has grown roots and become a part of who we are. That is what it means to be human in this world. I know, I reply, looking back at him. Because he is like no man or orc that I have ever known. Despite everything that I have been taught, and what I have seen for myself here at the bunker, I know he is different. I promise I will protect you and Ivory with my very life. I will shelter you both forever. You have nothing to fear from me or any other orcs from the Burning Sun clan. This is my word, Camille. My heart swells hearing him speak this way. How can the orc that is so savage on the battlefield be so warm and protective with me? I melt into his hands that are still at my face, being held by him in this way, bringing a sense of calmness and security that I have never had the privilege of experiencing. I believe him with all of my heart. Urish is showing me things about himself and helping me reveal aspects of myself that until now had been hidden. As I gaze up at him, I am struck with the desire to cradle his face, to explore his tusks with my fingers. Warmth pervades my chest and travels down my abdomen, making its way further and further down until... Ivory, can you come in here? I hear her pottering about outside with the water, and I call out to her to distract me from the feelings that now dwell within me. When he takes his hands from my face, I am momentarily bereft. He steps back a little, and I know he is just trying to be respectful to the both of us. We have something to discuss with you. She looks up at me, her eyes wide. Do you remember how I told you about Yurish's offer for us to stay at his home? She nods. I am starting to think that may be the best option for us, if you are okay with that. She looks from me to him, and then back to me. That sounds good, Camille. Thanks, Urish. She offers him a smile and he nods and smiles back at her. So, Camille, will you accept my offer? He asks.
Chapter 17. Urish. There have been many times that my heart has pounded in my chest so hard, I have feared it would burst out of my me. This is unlike any of those. It is 100 times worse. Could it be that she is going to agree to come back to the base with me? She stands perfectly still in front of me, her face giving nothing away. I want to reach out to her and have her in my arms. It is not enough to merely be close to her, and this is confusing to me. The words of ring through my mind, that I could take her. I am an orc after all, isn't that what we do? I can only assume that the effect she has on me is taming this side of me, because my feelings towards her could take me over, just as much as any madness does. I flick my eyes to Ivory, who is looking up at her sister, desperate to hear the answer. She's a sweet girl, too good for anything that this bunker would have provided her. Camille's concern for her going to live on an orc base is of course justified, but I would never let any harm come to either of them. I've tried not to indulge any thoughts of her accepting my proposition, but I'm hardly an orc made of discipline, and have failed time and again. There was a time when I believed the clan and battle was all I needed. That was a time before Camille, another world, another me. Having her help me with my curse will be life-changing for me. But it is more than that. I'm not sure what is happening, as I have little experience of such matters. I just know that I feel for her, a desire so strong it is unnerving. Maybe it is the curse that has made these feelings so intense. I cannot be sure. All I know is that a tempest of emotion that has always been inside me, the rage, passion, thirst for blood. This is all quelled when I am close to her. She is the calm before the storm and the clarity after it. I want to be around her. I need her by my side. Losing her now would be too much to bear. I am certain of it. Ivory reaches out and touches her older sister's hand. Camille turns to her, their hands now clasped tightly together. It touches me to see such love between them. It is not easy for human females in this world, but they have always had each other. Camille, are we doing this or not? I'd love to see Urish's home, Ivory says. It must be so exciting compared to this bunker. Is it far away? Yes, it's a long ride. A very long ride. I've never even been outside the bunker, cries Ivory, the excitement in her voice giving me some hope that her sister will agree. But Camille's face is still serious, and it sends an uncomfortable message to my chest which tightens. I can almost hear her weighing up the options, wondering if this will be the right thing for her and Ivory. Damn these orcs. It is hard enough to persuade her that she will be safe in my clan, but now that she has seen the brutality we are capable of, how am I supposed to make her see otherwise? They have raided her home and killed many of her settlement. My chest tightens further when I think of how I must have appeared to her. There are few orcs in my clan that can deal with that frenzied monster. How must it have been for her? I feel ashamed like never before. I could roar with the frustration, and it takes everything that I have not to. I'm not used to having to crush my urges in this way, and every muscle in my body now clenches as I swallow down my rage. Camille! Ivory persists. Camille gives her a gentle smile and turns back to me. Yes, Urish, I do accept your offer. I can hardly believe what I am hearing. Before I know what I have done, I reach down for her, grabbing her by her waist and spinning her around. She gasps in shock and lets out an excited squeal. Then I hold her up to my eye level, desperate to know if she is as happy about this new arrangement as I am. From behind us, Ivory laughs, reminding me that she is here. But I don't care who witnesses my display. The exhilaration that crashes through me has me in its grip. In my arms, Camille is as light as a feather, her body so different to mine. She laughs, and it adds to my elation. Her face and her laughter are the most beautiful things I have ever witnessed in my life. I take it this has made you happy, she asks. It has. Nothing has ever made me happier. My eyes lock onto hers, and it is as if time has stood still, but then they move downwards, my gaze now focused on her lips. I move my face closer to hers, her breath light upon me. Can you put me down, please? She asks, breaking me from my trance. Her words almost wound me, but I do as she asks. I have frightened her, I fear. My elation quickly turns to regret. Of course, I say, placing her back down on the ground. She smooths back her golden hair and looks down at the floor as she adjusts her clothing. I want to see her eyes again, but something has changed. I've gone too far. I will never be able to hold things inside me and not act upon them. Fool. You and Ivory should prepare your things. We'll leave at the break of dawn, I say. Without another word or time to hear an answer, I rush from the tent. I clutch at my pounding heart. Am I never to be free of this curse, even with her by my side? If I could, I would rampage, but I do have some restraint as she is close. I lift my hands to my face and inhale deeply as I stride across the ruined settlement. She is there, on my skin, helping me even now, when I have made her uncomfortable. Will I never learn? Perhaps it is true that I will forever be burdened by this curse. Even when I am not a mad thing, I struggle to control any urges that flow through me. I will never have the reasoning of Loki or the self-control of I am Yrish the Mad Dog, and maybe I have been a fool to hope for anything else. What was I thinking when I picked her up like that and almost kissed her? She must have been terrified beyond belief. How could anyone so small and pure as Camille look at me in any way other than as a brutish orc? Especially when we are here, amongst the ruins and the dead, all caused by my kind. When I have shown her a side to me that would send many orcs themselves running for the hills in fear. We were so close to getting what we both wanted. A home and security for Camille and her sister, and the chance to be rid of this curse for me. Now I fear I have taken those hopes and shattered them. All because I could not keep my emotions contained. What's wrong with me?
From the depths of the darkness of Prothika,
Or clawing up from the realms of fantasy.
come the most fearsome beasts you have ever seen.
These monsters are done watching from the shadows.
Now, as they step into the light, something unexpected grips them.
Something even they can't fight off.
Love,
Vampires.
demons,
Dark elves.
gods.
Minotaurs. Creatures of light and dark.
They will protect their mates.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Morally grey heroes who will burn the world to protect the women who love them.
10 audiobooks.
Fall into over 60 hours of fantasy romance.
20 ebooks.
Over 1 million words of these brutes who will protect their women.
Even if they might destroy themselves in the process.
Get the immersive Prothika Fantasy Romance Bundle.
For 80% off, right now, dive into Prothika at a once-in-a-lifetime discount.
The first bundle to offer both ebooks and audiobooks on worldsofprothika.com. Prothika's magic is eternal, and this romantasy bundle will make it endless. Chapter 18. Camille. Ivory stares at me so hard it looks as though her eyes might pop out of her head. I press my hand against her forehead in concern. Are you ill? Do you like him? I drop my hand to my lap. My mouth, much like a landed trout, opens and shuts a few times before I gather my wits enough to deny it. What? No! The question is absurd. I can't. Not like that. He's nice. He's an orc. He is a nice orc who is nice, but not in that way. Ivory watches me blabber on with growing amusement. I can see he's an orc. He's still the only person who's ever been kind to us. Kindness isn't always payment for something. I'd thought it was a sort of trick people played before I met Urish. Only fools and cons were kind, at least where we grew up. He's not being nice because he wants something from me, like a relationship. I think he's just a good person. That doesn't mean that I don't want something more, but the entire situation is embarrassing. I can't deny that there are times when I do want something more. Whenever I'm near him, I can feel my cheeks heat, and my stomach flutters whenever our hands brush. He's handsome and funny and kind, and it makes me want to press my face against his neck and burrow tightly against him. It makes me want to taste the divot of his chin or the dimple of his right cheek whenever he attempts a fearsome smile. Ivory's eyebrows are raised, and I cover my face with my hands. It looks like she can read every thought tripping through my mind. Uh-huh. Her smile grows devious. That's why you're blushing. He's just such a good person. He is a good person. I have never met a more genuine, caring person in my entire life besides my sister. and she's genetically obligated to love me. He's also mad. I can't forget the look in his eyes, murderous and vengeful. If I hadn't been able to stop him, I have no doubt he would have killed that entire carriage of my people, including my sister. Is it really a curse or an intrinsic part of him? What would have happened if I'd come too late? I can't hide a shiver, and Ivory's smile turns to a frown. What's wrong? Nothing. I don't mean to snap, but I do. I press my lips together and sigh. It really is nothing. I'm just tired. I'm sorry. I was only teasing. She sounds genuinely remorseful, and it only serves to make me feel worse. I pull her against my chest in a tight hug and drop a kiss on the top of her head. Normally, she would protest that she isn't a baby anymore, but she seems to relish the contact too. I ruffle her hair so I don't start crying sappy tears, and she swats my hand away. Sibling mode. Activated. Go pack your stuff. Pack what? Ashes? She shrugs. There's nothing left. And don't give me that sad look. It's not like we had a treasure trove of possessions anyway. We lost some clothes that were better off as rags, and a stale hunk of bread I stole from the kitchen. I'm genuinely proud that she managed to steal bread without me, and then grateful that Urish is giving me a chance to offer her a better life than necessary thievery. I guess that's less work for you then. I keep my voice light. I'm going to go look for Urish. Oh, shut up. She laughs as I leave the tent, and I roll my eyes. I've had to take such an active role in raising her that it's almost nice to revert to sibling teasing now and then. At least it takes her mind off of the orc raid. I find Urish outside near the makeshift stables. It's not difficult. They both dwarf the humans and their much smaller horses. He's hand-feeding his mount, and it's a finicky creature. He hands it branch after branch to inspect, and it finally deigns to nibble on the 5th branch he provides. He coos to the creature as it eats. 5th time's the charm, huh? He shoots me a look beneath his lashes that heats me straight to my toes. Has he known I was here the entire time? But then he catches himself and almost looks bashful. He scrubs a hand behind his head. She raced across 2 mountains and stayed in a valley that was on fire. I figure it can't hurt to pamper her a bit. The horse snorts as if she agrees and haughtily nips another leaf. I bite my lip and he holds up a finger. Don't say a word. She's a lady and she knows what she likes. Nothing wrong with that. Shouldn't you be packing with your sister? There's nothing to pack. We can leave now if you'd like. He doesn't seem relieved to hear this. You have nothing? We had nothing before. I can replace it. He looks at me so earnestly that I can't take it. I have to pivot away from the emotion in his eyes with a joke. Nothing is pretty simple to replace. I mean... He stops himself. He looks over at the horizon, where the sun has begun its descent. We'll need to leave soon if we intend to make it back to his base before dark tomorrow, but he doesn't seem to be in any hurry. He offers his horse another branch and takes a brush from a nearby hook to work the soot out of her fur. You should get some rest. I'm not tired. I'm exhausted, and he looks like he knows it. He brings the brush across his mount's chest. She is, though. Right, your pampered beast. He grins at this. His smile is as grotesque as ever. It stretches awkwardly across his entire face, presenting me with more sharp teeth than a shark. He looks like he wants to devour me whole. I would let him. Lust punches me straight in the stomach. I open my mouth, but I can't say a damned word. I just want. Damn him. And damn that dimple. He shuts his mouth in alarm. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it's not. I'm not trying to... He sighs, heavy. I'll try to stop doing that. I know it's scary. It's not. His new smile is closed and tight, and he turns his entire attention towards brushing the animal. Shame heats my face. I don't want him to be ashamed of smiling. It's not his fault that he makes me feel like this. I tug his elbow and he freezes. It's not scary. You don't scare me. I let my fingers graze against his elbow before I finally release him. It looks good. You look... I trail off. He looks down at me with unreadable eyes, and tension grows between us. It would be so easy to lean against him. I want to. I want to press my hands against his chest, and I want to see him smile for real. The horse snorts, and I take a step back. Anyway, good night. Yeah. He looks down at the brush in his hand like he's not sure how it got there before he shakes himself and gets back to work. Good night. My heart races as I stride back inside. What the hell am I thinking? I thought that I'd decided to keep my feelings for him locked away until they faded on their own, not flirt with him in front of his mount. His smile isn't scary, but his curse is terrifying. Still, I can't deny there's something between us, and it only seems to grow more each day. What should I do with all these feelings now? I feel like an overflowing cup, ready to spill. Is this okay?
Chapter 19. Urish. I watch the sun sink beneath the horizon, and I watch it rise. I try to sleep. It's impossible. It would likely be best if we left immediately, but my Hokeen and the sisters need their rest. I force myself to wait until they are ready. Luckily, they wake at dawn. I expected that they would be reluctant to leave. Instead, they are more eager to go than I am. Would you like to say goodbye to anyone? They exchange looks. I struggle to keep my face impassive. I know that orcs are not the friendliest creatures in the world, but my clan would never allow me to go hungry or friendless. Good riddance, then. Ivory laughs. I help Camille onto the mount first, and then offer Ivory a hand. I know that many humans are wary of orcs, and I don't want to frighten her. She takes my hand gladly, and I pull myself up to the front of the saddle. Our travel is fast, since our Hokeen is well rested, and Ivory especially enjoys the mountains. She's never been out of the bunker this much, Camille says. She sounds apologetic, which is absurd. Why would someone's happiness bother me? I steer my Hokeen slowly around the mountain, and we take a scenic route. An hour after noon, we arrive. Ivory stares at the imposing gate, jaw dropped open until Camille physically pushes it shut. It's huge, Ivory whispers. Awe and fear war in her eyes. She turns her face into Camille's shoulder. Are they nice here? You'll be safe, I assure her. Ivory beams at me, excited, and I steer my Hokeen into the stables where an attendant takes over her care and assists the sisters down from the saddle. Ivory continues to openly gawk as we walk through the base, past orc soldiers on patrol, and through the gardens and main courtyard. Where are we going? To see our chieftain. I know I mentioned Ivory's presence before, but having her here is a whole different thing. It is only right that I tell him immediately. His office is across from the courtyard, but Loki waits outside the door, arms crossed. He must have been alerted of my arrival. He nods for us to enter, and gestures for the guards to wait outside. Did you have fun? I look down at my arms littered with cuts and bruises. The rest of my body looks the same. I shrug. 20 orcs of an enemy clan have fallen. He looks at Camille and then Ivory. And you are here, of sound mind? I nod. He might not want to keep humans here, but he does want me to be able to fight without my curse destroying our own clan. Camille and her sister need accommodations, I say. Their bunker has been destroyed. Yes, I saw the fire. Loki sounds wry. Is your home not adequate? It was made for one person, I protest. And even though Camille calms me for some reason, I don't want to put her in danger. My loss of control plays over and over in my mind. I couldn't sleep because of it. What if my curse strengthens so much that even she can't put my mind right again? Loki's expression hardens. It was not a question. The humans stay with you. It's for the best. I open my mouth to protest further, but Camille grabs my hand. I don't mind. Loki's eyes flick toward Camille. Take your sister and introduce her to the shamans. Vala is very interested in meeting her. Camille looks at me first, and I nod. When they have left, Loki sighs. Enzo is like a mad dog biting on my heels. He wants the humans out. Had warned me that many of the clan wouldn't accept Camille. To bring her sister as well must seem like a huge insult, and of course they would lay the blame at our chieftain's feet, especially with his younger cousin Enzo constantly stirring up discord against Loki. I'm sorry. Don't be. I will deal with it. He waves his hand, and Xenon, his secret guard, materializes from behind his desk. Goosebumps prickled along my arms. How long has he been in the room without my knowledge? Keep Enzo from the girls, and let me know if he's planning anything. Xenon vanishes as quickly as he appeared. I will do whatever I can to help you, my friend. Loki's smile grows wolfish. Now, tell me about your battles. A survivor fled in our direction and told of a giant orc who fought so well, it was as though a tornado fell upon them. I recount the battle as well as I can, uncomfortably aware that I only remember the first part of it, and Loki slaps my shoulder. He believes that with Camille, I am cured. If I want her to remain with me, then it's best he doesn't know how close I came to losing myself to the madness. Later I find Camille and Ivory giggling at Vala's new eyeglasses. They are round and purple, and he thinks they make him appear most scholarly. He is asking Ivory questions about an ancient human history book. I'm glad that he is Ivory's first introduction to my fellow orcs. As an expert in human traditions, he's been delighted to learn more about humans directly. I just need to keep them both away from Enzo. Are you ready? Camille nods, and Vala hands Ivory a few books to take with her. Camille is relieved when I tell her that she will stay with me, and Ivory is beside herself when she realizes that she will have her own room. Are you serious? Ivory gapes at the threshold, overwhelmed. There's windows! Ivory runs to her room and bounces on the bed. It's a mattress. There are better beds. Hers is filled with feathers and cotton. She acts as though I have given her something that belongs to a chieftain, and it makes me squirm. It's nothing. Camille shoots me a sharp look. We slept on the floor underground and hid stale bread beneath our bodies as we slept. Sometimes the rats got to it first. This isn't nothing. Ivory doesn't pay us any mind. She's never had any privacy in her entire life, and she relishes it now. I'm saying that we're grateful. Her voice softens. Tell me what I can do to help you here, to help your clan. We're both hard workers. I can work in the kitchens or make you personal meals. Cleaning, gardening, anything really, if you're willing to train us. You'll be near me, I say, to keep the madness at bay, same as before. Work with the shamans to see why it's the case. Nothing more. Her lips purse at this, and I think that she's going to demand more work, but she surprises me. Have you ever gone to a human doctor about this curse? What good would a human doctor do? They're experienced in physical wounds, not magical curses. I don't try to hide my confusion. I have the shamans. Yes, she agrees. You have the shamans. But they say that magic is growing weaker. Shouldn't the curse grow weaker as well if it were truly a curse? You think it isn't? Camille folds her hands and studies them. A wrinkle forms between her eyebrows, and I push aside the urge to run my thumb across it. Do you think it might be some form of mental illness? No. I know that mental means mind, and I know what illness is. But the combination of words is nothing I've heard of before. I have no idea what that even means. A mythical being cursed my family line generations before I was born. It's written by the shamans. The concerned wrinkle remains, and I am powerless before it. Urish! An orc calls for me outside my door, and I step away from her. I hadn't realized how close we'd gotten. 1 minute. I turn back to Camille. I'll look into it. Her skin smooths, and I realize there isn't much I won't agree to do if it satisfies Camille. Chapter 20. Urish. Camille's words keep ringing in my ears, adding to the never-ending din that has taken residence in my head, except when she is near. Could such a thing even be possible? As orcs, we pay little attention to what happens in our minds. We are led by our urges in our bodies, and none more so than me. I have never even entertained such a thing. We know little of the sciences that humans talk about. Magic, curses, and spells. That is our way. And yet there is talk that the magic is dying, and that orcs from different clans are working in collaboration with humans who are sharing their skills and knowledge. This type of thinking has yet to reach our clan. We fight for glory and territory, and that is why I belong here with them. But there are humans here now. My lips curl into a smile as I think of Camille back at my home. She is here. She is with me. Just knowing that something else may be the cause of my problems brings a strange and new hope to me. I have lived my whole life believing that this is something placed on me by another, something that I have no power over. If she is right, then this may mean I can actually take back some of the control that I have given away so easily. My chest becomes lighter, as if a great weight has been lifted from it. Camille truly is a remarkable woman. I know I have so much to learn from her. Next to me, the soldier has been talking, and I have not taken in a word. "What are you saying?" I ask impatiently. There are always so many things pressing at my head, trying to burrow into my mind. It is a constant battle just to keep them from crushing my skull. "Vala is ready to see you, Commander," he says. "Ah, yes. Hopefully I can get some instruction from the orc elder that I have requested an audience with. As a clan, we don't know as much about humans as other orcs, it would seem. Yet Vala is the only one of us to consider himself an expert in humans and their customs." I pick up my pace, eager to get to my destination now. Surely he must be able to tell me what I am to do about the situation I find myself in. I have strong feelings for a human, and now it looks as though she may be warming to me. When she told Loki how she only wished to be housed with me, I could not have been happier. If she can trust me like this, then she must have feelings for me too. But I have no idea how to go about dealing with this, terrified that I may get this wrong and scare her off for good. We get to Vala's residence, and the soldier on guard bows his head to me in respect and opens the door. It creaks open, and I walk in, noticing how different this place is to my own. Much like some of the elders themselves, the house is like a relic, full of parchments, trophies from battle, and precious artifacts. I find him sitting in a chair next to an unlit fireplace. "Vala!" I nod to show my reverence. "May I thank you for receiving me?" "Commander Urish, I was surprised to receive your request, but as always, I am here to guide the members of this clan. Please sit." He gestures to the chair at the other side of the fireplace, and I thank him and take a seat. "So, Commander Urish, what brings you here today?" "Thank you, Vala. I am here as I am in desperate need of guidance. You are an expert on humans, and as you know, I've brought 2 back to the base who are currently at my residence. I'm as eager as them for their stay. I need to know everything about them, especially the women." He eyes me and swallows. "I can certainly help you with that, but..." My head races, taking control of my mouth. Is it true that in some clans orcs have taken humans as mates? What about the children? Is breeding even possible? He draws his head back as the questions tumble from me, my emotions running so high I am having to struggle to contain them. "So, your intentions with this human woman, they're more than just for the healing purposes we were at first told about?" "Yes, I would like to. Is that even a possibility for me, and how do I make my intentions known? I am more than a little terrifying, and she is so fragile compared to me. I must seem like a monster to her." He opens his mouth to speak, but I simply cannot stop myself. "And what about the actual act? I'm more than twice her size?" "Urish," he says, holding his hands up. He closes his eyes as if to pause and catch his breath, though it is not him that has been spewing up questions. Please, can we just stop for a moment? I press my lips together and take in a deep breath with my nose. My head swirls uncontrollably. So many questions, so many worries. When Vala finally opens his eyes again, I say, I suppose what I am really trying to discover is how I should approach her in this way. Orc women are tough and know how to handle their men. She is not. She is fragile and pure. To answer one of your questions, Urish, yes, there are indeed some orcs that have taken females as mates, though many have used them for bed sport too. My stomach clenches thinking of her being treated in such a way. Though I have struggled with the way I am, I have never felt ashamed to be an orc. But knowing that many of my kind act in this way sickens me to my core. There are ways that humans can be courted. If mating is what you are talking about. Mating? I had not even thought that far. Urish! Urish! He cries impatiently, seeing that I have drifted off into my own world and have not heard a word he has been saying. You could try by starting to bring her gifts. Simple things that you know she will like. Flowers, maybe. I imagine myself picking flower stems like a young girl out in the meadows. No, this is not enough, I say. Vala huffs out a breath. Well then, maybe a display of your battle skills. She has already seen me in battle, and I cannot risk showing her that side of myself again. Then how about cooking for her? She is hungry. Is she not coming from such a poor bunker? I have no skills in the kitchen. The room becomes silent, and I can sense the fury in Vala. His nostrils are flared, and he grips the edge of his seat. Just tell her, he roars. Why must you complicate this? He gets up, the chair almost tipping over with the force of his action, and storms out of the room. A few moments later, I hear the slam of a door that almost shakes the building. Taking this as my signal to leave, I make for the door, my mind still throwing about all the possibilities. I let myself out of Vala's residence, still deep in thought as the guard wishes me farewell. I do not answer, still caught up in my dilemma. Maybe Vala is right. I am complicating it. Should I just go for it the orc way?
Chapter 21. Camille. The bones in his braided hair rattle as the shaman potters about his workshop. Jars and bottles line the shelves, and I run my eyes over them, looking at the strange array of creatures and body parts that are contained in many of them. I can't be sure, I say, but what Urish talks of as a curse could be something other than dark magic, a disease of the mind, so to speak. Impossible. We are immune to most diseases that this planet throws at us, he says in a blunt but not offensive tone. Yes, I understand that. You are a strong species, there is no doubt about it, but this is different to any type of infectious disease. We refer to it as mental illness in our culture. And what is this illness? He asks, stopping what he is doing and turning to me. I can see that I have his interest now. There are many types of illnesses that can affect the mind, the brain. It was an area of study that was beginning to really take hold before I cut myself short, not wanting to cause offence by mentioning the orc invasion, even though we were the ones that fell victim to it. Of the mind, you say? He asks with narrow eyes. Yes, many advances had been made to treat such conditions, and humans had become much more aware of these issues. It could be that orcs are just as susceptible to such conditions, and that Urish is an orc experiencing the illness with a greater intensity. But with the right treatment he could thrive. Silence falls between us, but I know that he is considering what I am saying. But Urish's is a bloodline curse, he says eventually. We call that hereditary, I offer. It means that it can be passed down from generation to generation, through genetics, the traits, characteristics and physical attributes we inherit from those that created us. Yes, he says, staring off into the distance behind me. Yes, it does make sense. So do you think it is worth investigating? I ask. He comes back around, his eyes now on mine. Of course, child, of course, you must tell me everything that you know. Can it be that we speak of the same thing? I am fairly certain that it can. There are many differences between our races, but also many similarities. I think so. I smile at him, excited that we may be getting closer to helping Urish, the orc that I have come to care so much for. I will look into this straight away, he says, heading to the shelves of human books that he has collected over the years. The medical knowledge that you humans have is quite fascinating. His hands travel quickly over the shelves as he searches them for what he wants, but then suddenly stops. You may have heard that our magic is becoming weaker. The deep sadness in him comes across in his voice. He is a man of magic, and now that this is disappearing, he has to learn new ways. It often seems as though this world is filled with one loss after another for all of us, orc or human. Yes, I am sorry for this. It must be devastating for you. Turning back to me, his face seems different, as though it has aged in the last few moments alone. Yes, it is not something that I ever imagined I would have to deal with, and yet here we are. I am now tasked with gathering some of the skills and knowledge that humans have collected, but I am alone in this, and it can be difficult. I can imagine, I say, knowing how lonely it can be to hold a burden that seems impossible sometimes. We digress, child. Now tell me, what is it about you that could make your scent so different? I have looked at your blood sample, and there seems to be some form of plant component present, though it is faint. Oh, yes, and when I checked your sister it was not there. Could you have eaten something perhaps that accounts for this phenomenon? I rack my brains trying to think of what this may be. I hardly had a rich and varied diet at the bunker, and food was always scarce. There were few times that I even made it out of the bunker, and most of the food I ate was bland and unappealing. Memories of a childhood lacking in warmth, nurture and protection come flooding back. I have always tried to keep these at bay, not wanting to experience the pain that comes with them. But somehow I find my way back to when I was younger, when I bled for the first time as a teenage girl. There is one thing I can think of, I say. Well, what is it, child? My face flushes and I find it hard to meet his eyes. But I persist. I have to if I am to help Urish. I remember the terror I felt as no one had ever spoken to me about why girls start to bleed at a certain age. Having no one to really confide in, I snuck into the clinic and took the herbs used to make healing pastes. I tried eating it to stop the flow of blood, but obviously it didn't help. Instead, I passed out. When the doctor found me, he explained to me what was happening to my body. I can feel my shoulders hunch over, such is the embarrassment that I feel telling this story. It also brings the deep despair back that comes from having no one to help me and guide me in these things. This is why I am so determined to be there for my sister. Yes, what herbs were they? He asks excitedly. I don't know what they were called, but I know it was common at our bunker. There was a small field near the entrance where I'd often collect them for the doctor. Then we must retrieve some immediately. My shame turns to hope and even exhilaration. Go, child, go. Prepare for the trip. We will leave tomorrow. The shaman rushes me out of the workshop with a flick of his hands and eyes that are alive with excitement. I do as he says, running across the base to Urish's residence, bursting through the door, hoping to find him here. I call out for him but get no response, though. Ivory lets me know she is home, calling at me from her room that she is becoming so attached to. I go from room to room, looking for him. Maybe he is asleep. I knock at his chamber door, and when there is no answer, I open it to find his room empty. Stepping into it, I can smell him. That musk that emanates from him permeates the space, and I feel as though I am being enveloped by him. I close my eyes and let the feeling take me. After a few moments, I hear voices outside and move to the window to see if it is Urish on his way home. Peering out, I cast my eyes around the base, and that's when I see him. Urish is speaking very closely with an orc woman, their eyes locked onto each other's and their lips closer than in any normal conversation. My stomach sinks to the ground like a stone and my chest tightens. I run to my room, locking the door behind me as the searing pain snakes around my body. Just seeing him with that orc woman has changed everything. I came here not just to help him, but to be with him. He has become more dear to me than I could ever have imagined. How could he do this?
Orcs, gargoyles, vampires, ice monsters, demons of the dark. These beasts seek war, destruction, and power. And there's only one thing that can tame them.
Love.
This is your chance to get the uncut and unabridged audiobook bundle.
No detail is spared.
Use discount code YouTube30 for an additional 30% off of the already discounted price.
Go to worldsofprathika.com.
Get access to countless audiobooks and discounted bundles where I talk you through every last scene.
Prothika's magic is eternal. Audio bundles will make it immersive.
Chapter 22. Urish. I slam the door behind me, instantly regretting my action. I forget that I now share my residence with Camille and Ivory, and that they do not need to see me rampaging around the place. Relieved to see that no one is here, or that they are in their chambers, I make for my own, careful not to slam the door this time. I throw myself down onto the bed, so many things swirling through me. I rearrange myself in my pants. Ira is indeed a handsome woman, and I have had many like her. But she must know from our conversation just now that she will no longer be joining me in my bed. Is this the way it will be from now on? Any other time I would have gladly accepted her advances, and we would be thrashing around this room like animals, as we have done on so many occasions. Other than battle, bed sport has been the thing that helps keep the frenzy at bay. There are many women on this base that have helped me with these matters, and many that have enjoyed the privilege. Saying no to Ira was a first, a testament to how I am changing since I met Camille. There's no way I could engage in such things now. Only one person occupies that space in my mind, heart, and groin when it comes to these matters. She is all that has occupied anything since first meeting her. My stomach growls, adding to my bad mood, but I will not eat with them tonight. I need to digest these feelings that I have for Camille, and make a decision about what I am to do about them. Should I just confess them to her as Vala suggested? I certainly am no expert at speaking of such things. The women I have enjoyed up until now have all been orc, and never have I needed to do anything other than satisfy their carnal desires as they have mine. But it is more than that with Camille. Though I am desperate to know her body, I want all of her, to experience all of her. Vala has spoken of mating, and now that it has been suggested, I am wondering if this is what is happening here. I lie on the bed, tossing these things around my mind until there is a small knock at the door. "Come in," I call out, hoisting myself up onto my elbows. The small face that peers out from behind the door could melt the heart of any orc warrior. "Hey, Urish. I'm sorry to bother you. Were you sleeping?" Ivory asks softly. "No, I was certainly not sleeping," I say dryly. I doubt I will be able to sleep for a very long time. Certainly not until I have dealt with this matter. "Oh, good. I just needed to speak to you because I'm worried about Camille." Suddenly I am alert, my heart racing to action. "Why? What is it?" I say in a hurry. Panic makes my muscles twitch. What has happened? She is not coming out of her room, and she is also refusing to eat. I wondered if you could check on her, maybe. She was with the shaman this afternoon. Maybe she's had some bad news. "Of course," I say, rising. I cannot think of any reason why her visit to the shaman would cause her distress, unless there is no cure after all for my condition. Could this be it? I am eager to know what the matter is, but at least I know that she is under this roof and safe. "Maybe she's just missing the bunker," I offer, not wanting Ivory to worry. She's so young and has already had to deal with so much in her life. I want her time here to be comfortable, enjoyable even. Ivory snorts. "I don't think so. There's not much to miss." Her youth and honesty are refreshing and almost infectious. She's like a breath of fresh air, and I am determined to see that she remains that way, under my protection along with her sister. I smile at her. You are probably right, from what she has told me of that place and the people in it. Maybe you should go and finish your meal, and I will see that Camille is okay. There will be no need to worry, I'm sure. Thanks, Urish, she says, beaming at me before doing as I say. Scrubbing my hands over my face, I wonder what on earth I am to say to Camille. There is no time to sit around procrastinating now. I have told Ivory I will deal with it. I take deep, heavy breaths as I walk to her room and then knock lightly on the door. Camille, it is me, Urish. Nothing. Part of me wants to break the door down, just to see that she is okay. But I know she must be in there because my madness is tamed somewhat. But I am still desperate to know that she is okay. Camille, I know you are in there. Your sister is concerned for you. Open the door. I do not wish to speak to you, Urish. What? Did I do something? What is this? I ask. I said I do not wish to speak to you. Something is obviously wrong. Just let me in and we can discuss this. Did I do something to offend you? The door snaps open, and there behind it is a beautiful and yet red-faced Camille. Her eyes are narrow and her nostrils are flared. She glares at me with rage in her eyes. I gaze at her, feeling so many things at once, and I cannot make sense of any of them. I just know that she is here, close to me, and her face is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life. Please, tell me what is wrong. If I have done something, then I am sorry. Still, she glares at me without saying a word. Then she steps closer, reaching out and grabbing my tunic. She attempts to pull me inside her chamber, but there is no way she can force me. And anyway, I go willingly. All I can think about is why she is so angry, and if she has any idea how beautiful she looks when she is. She holds her chin up in defiance, her golden hair tumbling around her shoulders. I want to reach out so much to touch it. I'm shocked when she locks the door behind us, though it gives me hope. Knowing that she trusts me, that she knows she can be safely locked in a room with me, warms my heavy heart. What's going on, Camille? She squeezes up close to me, her mouth raised to mine, then pushing up on her toes, she places her lips on mine. I'm shocked beyond belief, and for a moment dare not respond. But I finally let go, my whole body relaxing into her kiss, a feeling so euphoric it is almost unreal. She tastes the way that she smells, like something made of the earth, of fields and sun and wildflowers. I cradle her delicate head, angling it so that I can find a way in with my tongue without my tusks scraping her skin. She moans when I do, her tongue finding mine to taste me. At last, my sweet Camille, everything that I feared about being so close to her shatters around me. There is no urge to devour her, to take her, to be the rough and wild thing that I so often am. Instead, there is just this moment, and I am lost in it. Never more present, never more alive. There's just me and her, and in this moment, everything is right with the world.
Chapter 23, Camille. Urish's yellow eyes widen in surprise, but I don't care. I'm starting to like this brute, so much that seeing him with that orc woman has made me livid. I don't want anyone else to touch him like that. His hot lips finally yield, and he moans into my furious kiss. His grip is rough as he presses me against the door, arching over me and lashing his tongue into my mouth. I accept it on an exhale, loving how his fingers rake through my hair and chase down the cleft of my spine, like he's been waiting to claim me since our first meeting. Back then, I had no idea. Now, I do, and all I want is him. I know he feels the same because he hasn't spurned my advances. His heavy lips claim my mouth in a violent dance, until our teeth click and he withdraws on a groan. Urish's eyes are closed when he finally speaks, his body pinning me to the door. I don't want this to go too far. My heart drops. Maybe I'm wrong, and he only sees me as a cure to his unfortunate circumstances, nothing more. The heat of embarrassment crawls up my neck and into my cheeks. Then why did you kiss me, you bastard? His eyes spring open and he searches my face. It's not that I... His growl reverberates through his chest and into mine through our connection. I don't want to hurt you, Camille. You're so small and delicate. Relief floods into me, but I maintain a stern expression. I'm not letting him off the hook that easily, not after I've made a fool of myself. You didn't think I was so delicate when you kidnapped me, if I remember correctly. That was different. I never intended for it to go this far. It's too late for regret, I say, softening my tone slightly. I tug at his shirt to reveal the hard cut of his chest before he clasps his hand over mine. Please, Urish, let me in. You're always keeping me at arm's reach. I know you're afraid, but you don't have to be. I'm stronger than I look. Another groan finds him. I know that all too well. Then don't leave me high and dry like this. Don't embarrass me. He looks me over anew, his thumb chasing over my jaw and landing on my chin. Camille, he murmurs, tracing my lower lip. You are too incredible to be embarrassed by a creature like me. And I don't know if I'll be able to control myself once we begin. Is that the problem? I ask. Well, he amends, that and... He glances down at his tented pants, which is sporting an intimidating bulge. He doesn't have to say any more. I've only ever had make love one other time, and it could barely even be called that. A disappointment, more like, I think, realising Urish won't be a disappointment. I don't think he's capable of it. He sucks in a breath at my touch. Camille.
Sorry for the interruption. I know you were gearing up for a steamy scene, but it's way too hot for YouTube.
If we want to keep sharing our stories for free, we have to abide by YouTube's guidelines.
To get the full unabridged audiobook, go to worldsofprotheka.com.
Browse through unabridged audiobooks, countless ebooks and bundles offered at a discount.
If the thought of me whispering all the dirty details into your ear isn't enticing enough, use discount code YouTube30 to get 30% off of all digital products.
Story after story, audiobook after audiobook, the worlds of Protheka are waiting for you.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
But unabridged, it's unforgettable.
Chapter 24. Urish. A comforting, familiar scent is the first thing I notice when I wake. I open my eyes to find Camille curled up against my chest and remember everything. How she demanded my attention and dragged me into her bedroom. I remember her feverish kisses, so sweet and warm, lulling me into a rare sense of serenity. She allayed my fears and urged me on, until I couldn't help but claim her. I don't know what will happen when she wakes. Will she regret it? I don't think so. Her brow knits as she rouses, mumbling in the remnants of a dream. I kiss her forehead. Good morning, Camille. She doesn't open her eyes, but a small smile graces her darling features. Good morning. She cranes her neck as if to kiss me, and I accept the soft gesture, taking in her irresistible scent. This woman is all I need. Our kiss deepens and she yields briefly before her eyes open in a sudden motion, and she tears her lips free from mine. I forgot to tell you, she says suddenly, sitting up. I sit up with her, confused. What's wrong? She allows me to rub her arms as she stares right through me, then finally focuses. The shaman and I were talking yesterday. We think we might have found a solution to your issue. Excitement grips me before I master it. We've tried many things in the past, and none of them have worked. Why should her idea be any different? Camille? No, listen to me. She grabs my face in both hands, clapping her palm over my mouth. I allow it. You say you feel better with me around, and I remembered something yesterday about my past and something I used to make myself better a long time ago. I didn't think anything of it until I was speaking with your shaman, but it makes sense. I kiss her palm and draw her hand away. What are you saying? I'm saying that I think there's an herb that can help with your symptoms. She can't withhold a big smile and a gleam in her pretty eyes. It's worth a shot, isn't it? Her words silence my inner protests. Is it possible? I shake my head with a small laugh. You humans are so persistent with your herbs and medicines, but I will try it if you insist. Oh, she said with a stern look, I insist. It is true, the shaman says, verifying Camille's words. I believe your human is onto something, and you're already showing improvement in her presence. It is entirely feasible that this herb can cure you of your curse. Camille squeezes my hand reassuringly. See? Even he agrees. Loki and are here with us, and our chieftain speaks first. If she is correct, then your days of suffering are numbered, Urish. You should be thrilled at the prospect. Instead, you are wallowing in uncertainty. We have tried everything. How can I not be? Still, I'm glad she's standing beside me, with not a trace of fear in her features. I'm also glad for her support, and even if this therapy doesn't work, I still have her. As long as she's near, I don't need a cure. This is good news, pipes in, clapping me on the back. We should set out today as soon as you're ready. I shoot him a teasing glower, though I can already see the difference in their demeanor towards me. They do not flinch when I speak or move too fast, and they seem relaxed, so long as Camille is here. Thank you for being there for me, even when I'm at my worst. It is no trouble, says with a wink. We are brothers by blood and in arms, even if we fight sometimes. My nostrils flare. It is not enough to express my gratitude, gathering him up into a genuine embrace. Truly, I say over his shoulder, I would have gone mad long ago without your support. He returns the gesture warmly as the others chuckle. I would do it again in a heartbeat for you, Urish. I did not know I could feel such affection for my kin like this. But it was Camille that brought the clarity back to me, so that I could see them with new eyes, the way they always have been. When do we leave? Now, Loki says, if you're prepared. I break from and nod, daring myself not to tear up. I'm coming with you, Camille says. We'll all go. Loki corrects her gently. I want to see your health improve with my own eyes, like I have these past few days. It is a miraculous change that has come over you. With that, we pack and set out back to Camille's old bunker, where there is the promise of more of that herb she spoke of. A small contingency of soldiers follows behind with the shaman and Ivory, while I keep Camille safe in my saddle. Loki rides ahead, but trots on beside me as if to ensure I'm feeling better. When we finally approach the site, smoke is still rising in the air from what I have to assume is the blast. But when we get closer, I realize it's wood smoke, the smell of a campfire. Hadn't the others gone somewhere safer? No human would have remained here if they had any sense. I slow my steed as Loki falls back to speak with me. You said it would be abandoned. I thought it would be, I say, trying to get a better look over the rough terrain. The distinct sound of orc voices carries through the trees. I hold my breath. Camille doesn't. It's them, she hisses. The clan from last time. They're back. We should retreat, the shaman says. There's no reason to fight over this space. I'm sure Roz can find another connection. It is not so rare an herb that we can't find it somewhere else. What do you say, Chief? He shakes his head. We are evenly matched, from the sound of it, and they do not know we are coming. We should take advantage of the situation before more trouble comes of it. They shouldn't be this close to our border anyhow. I grit my teeth at their divided opinions. We need the plant soon, Camille says, speaking without a trace of fear among battle-trained warriors. So brave she's become. And we've already wasted a day marching. We shouldn't waste this opportunity while we have it. I agree with the Chieftain. I like the way she thinks. Though she makes me calm, I've been itching for a fight, if only to recall the glorious taste of victory. My curse may have driven my actions before, but I'm still an orc, and we do so enjoy a fight. The shaman is not sold on their logic. We have few enough fighters as it is, and it has been difficult enough to bear children. We need to think carefully about this, Loki. He considers the shaman's sentiment, glancing at me. Maybe we can strike peace with them. We don't want their resources, just the herb, which they shouldn't have trouble surrendering. It doesn't matter to them. They attacked innocent people, Camille says. They won't hesitate to fight, and I don't think they'll be up for negotiations. She's right, says simply. They'll want to fight as badly as we do. Who's we? The shaman asks. There is no consensus on this. Camille goes quiet as they squabble in hushed tones. I grow weary of it and bare my teeth, refusing to wait any longer. My voice rises over their bickering easily, the call of my battle cry making their mounts shift on their wide hooves with impatience. We're going to war!
Chapter 25. Camille. Urish passes me off to the shaman's waiting arms. It is best you hide until we claim our victory. We'll come get you when it is over. I don't want her to be swept up in the battle. The shaman submits to the order, but I'm not so obedient as that. Urish, I protest, tearing free of the shaman's grip and throwing my arms around his firm waist. Be careful, please, I can't lose you either. He hunkers down to better look me in the eye, concern etched in his features. It will be over quickly, I promise. I lean into his comforting touch. Trust me, Camille. We know what we're doing. I know, I murmur, tearing up as he breaks free from my embrace. In theory, this plan makes sense, but now the real cost of this skirmish is dawning on me, and I'm not ready to see him run off into a battle, outnumbered. He kisses my knuckles one at a time before withdrawing completely. I'll be back before you know it. I don't believe him as he rejoins his chief. It will be brutal, and it will be ugly, no matter what the outcome. Our enemy is not averse to using extreme tactics to deal with their opponents. We both saw the explosion the other day. Come, the shaman says, moving aside a heavy veil of vines for me. We'll stay here until it is over. Urish is a fine fighter. He will not come to harm, little one. I follow him in, listening intently for the battle to begin. Dread courses through me, making my limbs tight with desperation. We have a good view of the rocky field from here, and can see when Loki finally charges his soldiers forward, though nearly half of them skirt around the back to flank the enemy when the first group has their attention. Urish is among them, and I see him duck around a rock and disappear out of sight. Weapons clash with the first wave, and it becomes a flurry of swords and fists and whatever weapons they can get their hands on. There are nearly twice as many of them as there are of us, but for everyone, Loki's soldiers take down 2. Still, their campfire is kicked out, and coals light up the dead underbrush, sweeping up several ordinary bushes in its wake. No one bothers to put out the flames, and their heavy feet trample the grass underneath. My worries only grow when the second half clashes with the enemy clan, and all hell breaks loose at the bunker's entrance. I think I see Urish among them, but I can't be certain. Loki's soldiers are trained well, even better than these brutes, but they'll destroy everything in their path, including the herb. My limbs clench as if to spring. I have to get them. You heard what he said? I know what he said, but there's no point to their sacrifice if they destroy the herb in the process. We have to get to it before the fighting spreads. The shaman grimaces, but he glances between me and the battle. All right, he concedes, looking all too defeated after being bested twice in one day. But if there is any sign of danger, you run. Do you understand? I issue a sharp nod. Good, he says, inching out from our hiding place. Let's find it. I'm happy to have an ally at my back, and more to watch Ivory as we draw closer to the herbs, avoiding the hungry flames. The shaman takes the lead, but still keeps a keen eye on me. I have a feeling he'd face Urish's wrath if anything happened to me under his watch, and he's taking a big risk for a half-cocked plan. I spot the little pink flowers that grow on a short grassy stalk. There it is. The shaman changes direction, watching the movement of the battle. Over his shoulder he murmurs, "Go and get some. At least 3 samples, if you can, with the root intact. It should be enough for our purposes." Then he adds, "You are brave for a human. I can see why Urish likes you." I am glad that he trusts me, and simultaneously understand why they might underestimate me. I am small, and to them I am weak. But they do not know strength like mine. Urish is only beginning to understand, but now the shaman sees my capabilities too. I smother a smile, slipping forward and hiding behind a wide tree before finding my moment among the fray. All the focus is on the chieftain and Urish, who flings one of his adversaries into the air some distance away before falling back with a fury into battle. Never for a moment does he hesitate, battling with furious glee. That's my man, I think proudly. He is frighteningly accurate, and none of their adversaries stand a chance against him when his weapon is drawn. I can see why Loki was so confident in their advantage before. I firm my bottom lip and leap for the herbs, staying low. This will heal him of his curse, as he calls it. I only hope we have it right. They give me trouble, refusing to give up their grip on the ground, but I manage to shake them free from the earth, root and all. The first 2 are easy pickings, but the third is a mere 10 feet from the fight. I'll have to be quick if I'm going to make it before they stamp on it. The shaman is right behind me, keeping an eye on the situation. I throw the herbs back at him and then stalk my final acquisition without looking to see if he caught them. I'm starting to trust orcs and their keen instincts, thanks to Urish. A pair of fighters I don't recognise nearly trample the tender sprout. I suck in a breath and inch closer, slipping behind a low boulder. They fight brutally, completely absorbed in killing one another, though neither can get the upper hand. Ours pushes the second back into the fray, giving me the exact opportunity I need to snatch the herb. I yank it out of the ground, and it gives easily, unlike the others. Falling on my arse, I shoot a victorious look to the shaman, whose yellow eyes are glowing with excitement. But our victory is short-lived when his gaze darts to something behind me, and he bellows out a shout. "Camille, look out!" Dread shoots through my core, and I pivot to find an enemy orc raising his machete at me, an evil gleam in his eyes. I scramble back, dodging the fierce blow that sprays dirt in every direction, right where the herb had just been. The orc tears his weapon from the ground and sweeps in again, barely missing me. I feel the wind of its dull edge blow past my face. I'm frozen by the sudden motion, unable to even breathe as I realise this could very well be my last moment on Earth. When the orc lifts his weapon again, something fast and hard sweeps me out of the way of the blow. The shaman's bone trophies clack as he puts me on my feet some distance away, and we bolt from our intruder together. I glance back to find Urish among the fray, finding him as the enemy orc is on our tail. "Urish!" I scream as we tumble out of the path of that brutal machete. "Help!"
Chapter 26. Urish. By the time I hear Camille scream, the fire boiling in my blood is already threatening to consume me. I can feel it trying to sweep me away, but I push past the haze of red anger to focus. I have to save Camille. Nothing else matters. Roaring in a fury, I turn and run towards her scream. I cover the blood-stained ground quickly as I prepare to soak it further. But then 3 orcs seek to bar my path. The red haze of rage starts to blanket the world again. Everything else fades as it's just me and these men I must kill. Either I win, or I die. There are no other options. The fury in my blood is already singing that I will be the victor. I raise my machete. I'm barely aware of the look of regret on the first one's face as the blade cleaves through his sword arm. but I don't leave him much time to regret the loss of his limb as I bury my blade in his skull. I let gravity do its work as it pulls his body free of my weapon before I round on the other two. They're suddenly less enthusiastic about this fight. I can smell it on them, their fear. It just spurs me on. They made this mistake, and now they're going to pay. They got in my way. They challenged me, and they must pay with their lives. The bloodlust makes what they got in my way for foggy and distant. All I know is that they're going to water the ground with their blood, and I'm going to emerge the victor. With a wicked slash, I cut open one of their bellies. When he drops his weapon to give himself more hands to hold his insides in, a swift slice to the throat forces him to choose where to hold on to his life. But the wounds are both too deep for any orc to survive. The light goes out of his eyes as he drops to the ground. The last one stares at me, wide-eyed in terror as he realizes it's only him and me. A true orc would stand and fight to the end. This is no true orc. He turns to run, and I give chase. Urish! Save the girl! Urish. Girl? What do these words mean? What girl needs saving? Saving from me? Then I hear another scream. There was something about a scream. Someone screamed, "Camille!" But the madness tells me it doesn't matter. I should cut down this fleeing whelp and then murder all his friends for daring to oppose me. Urish! The voice yells again. Not just a voice. My ally. Second in command of my tribe. I'm supposed to listen to him, aren't I? Then I hear another fearful scream, and it pierces the bloodlust-induced haze enough for me to remember the girl the scream belongs to. Camille. I have to save her. But my battle rage demands I move forward and kill. I roar again, trying to gain control of the madness that consumes me. I draw my blade along my arm, the pain of it pulling my focus. Pain I'm now remembering would be nothing compared to the pain of losing Camille. The rest of the world snaps back into focus, and there I can see the orc forcing Camille and the shaman into a corner, cutting off their escape. A different sort of madness takes me. I don't remember closing the distance, but I'm suddenly there next to Camille, raising my machete to block a blow that would have split her in two. I kick the orc in the chest, and I swear I can feel ribs give way under the pressure. He seems just as surprised at my appearance as I am at discovering I was suddenly there. I don't give him the time to recover from the shock or my blow. I swing my arm in a powerful, practiced arc, and the blade in my hand slices clean through his neck, sending his head flying as his body drops to the ground. I turn to Camille just in time for her to wrap her arms around me. I'm covered in blood, but that doesn't even make her hesitate. I return her embrace with one arm, keeping my war-soaked blade away from her. The closeness of her and the smell of her drives the lingering madness from my mind. The battle still rages on behind me, but I take this one moment to center myself. I can't afford to lose control. Too many people are counting on me. You're hurt, she says, pulling back. I look down at my arm and remember that it wasn't from an enemy, but from me. I did that to myself to beat back the bloodlust. I'll be fine, I say, kissing her gently on the lips. I taste the salt of her tears before I realize she's crying. Don't worry about me. I thought I was going to die, and I saw you. She hesitates. I saw you go into your bloodlust, and I thought that it was the last I'd see of you. I have to get back to the fight, I say. No, please, stay. Protect us. We need you, she begs. I don't want to see you lost again. I plant my machete in the earth and take her hands in mine. I almost consider it when I look into her eyes and see the tears now flowing freely. But instead I say, you're safer the sooner this battle ends. I won't lose myself again. Not this time. I draw in her scent again, feeling it wash over me and drive any lingering battle fog from me. I turn to leave, but she seizes my wrist with a surprisingly powerful grip for one so small. Wait, she says, before tearing off the bottom of her shirt. Then she wraps the cloth like a bandage around my wounded arm. Let's at least stop the bleeding, and I can carry your scent with me, I complete her thought. She finishes tying off the makeshift bandage, and I look down at her. She's a mess, and she's absolutely stunning. I'll return. Then I face the battlefield and rush to aid my tribe. The bandage pressing into the wound, carrying her scent, acts as an anchor as I wade through the enemy. I'm able to hold on to my mind as I fight shoulder to shoulder with my clanmates. The Burning Sun's tribe is ready to fight and ready to be victorious. I fight fiercely but focused. I can see the hesitation in the eyes of some of my comrades as I get close, but it soon fades. It's as if they can sense how present I am. We push forward into the enemy, cutting them down with brutal efficiency, but they are strong. The sun has crossed the sky after another hour when the last of them fall to the earth. "Victory!" Loki yells over the battlefield. The Burning Sun's tribe raise their weapons in the air and answer his cry. I turn to where the civilians were, a brief rush of panic rising when I can't spot them right away. But soon, Camille and the rest emerge from a shelter. There are some dazed and exhausted looks, but the survivors are many, and my Camille is safe. I turn to see Loki and beside me. "This is one for the songs," says, clapping my shoulder. Only then do I realize the bone-weary exhaustion I feel. "Let's go home," I say to them before turning to my soldiers and yelling, "Gather our wounded, let's move out."
Chapter 27, Camille. I find the shaman in his workroom with Ivory beside him, soaking everything in like the sponge she is. I linger in the doorway for a moment, listening to them work with a small smile on my face. Still, I never had the chance to give him the third sample. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. They both turn around in surprise. Ivory dons a wide grin. "Camille, he was just showing me how he emulsifies herbs to make medicines. It's really cool." "Emulsify, that's a big word," I say, pleased that she's found something to occupy herself in this settlement. "Dinner is almost ready. You should head home while I speak to the shaman for a moment." He offers a sagely nod to his novice, who removes her apron and hangs it up. "Can I come back tomorrow?" she asks. "Anytime you wish. I'll have plenty enough for you to do," he says, issuing a kindly smile as she bounds from his workroom. When she's out of earshot, he turns to me, his pleasant expression fading for concern. "You have the last of it?" "I do," I say, pulling out the final sample that's been rumpled on our trip back, but its wilted leaves and tender stalk are still intact. "Do you really think it will help?" "I think we'll have to see." He takes the plant with the utmost care. "Give me some time, and I'll see what I can do. You did well out there." I bite my lip. "I did it for him. And I'm sure he's eager to have you home. Go on, my work won't be finished tonight." He shoos me to the door, and I oblige, but I still have questions. As I'm about to ask, he waves me off. "Just pray, girl, in hopes that we've finally found what we're looking for." Star Ivory is so small at the oversized table, Urish can't help but remark on it. "We'll have to fashion you something your own size. Maybe you could even learn how to do it yourself from our woodworker." Her mouth is full of food, but that doesn't stop her from talking. "Really?" I laugh as they go back and forth over this fine meal Irish prepared for us, especially after the day he's had, battling his condition in the heat of that brutal struggle. It's my fault, and I should have waited, but something tells me I did the right thing out there. All that matters is that we're together now. Soon, Ivory grows sleepy. "Go on," I tell her. "We'll clean up tonight. We've all had a long day." She accepts a kiss on her brow and a big hug before ambling off to her room. It is good to see her truly happy for the first time in a long time. Urish rubs my shoulder, giving me a comforting squeeze. "You should head off to bed too." "But I just said—" "My bed," he interrupts gently. "I'll be there shortly." Asterisk lying in his enormous bed is daunting. I am small among his oversized sheets and weighted bear fur, but when the door creaks open, I'm filled with relief. "I thought you'd never come." The dishes can't wash themselves, he says with a chuckle, throwing his shirt off in one motion to reveal his rippling emerald chest. My mouth goes dry at the sight, and I'm taken by his sultry expression as he climbs onto the bed until he's over me, pinning me to the mattress. He stares at me with wonder. How did I get so lucky? I don't even have the words when he presses our foreheads together and takes in my scent. I want to crane my neck and find his lips, but I know he's too tired to reciprocate. He keeps pushing himself needlessly, after hours of travel, a brutal skirmish, and yet he continues on as if it is nothing to him. But I'm starting to read his little cues, and I can see slight bags beneath his eyes that weren't there this morning. You're worried about something, he concludes. Is it me? Lie with me, I whisper, rubbing our noses together. Please. He obliges, falling to one side and curling around me possessively, as if I'm going to vanish without a trace if he doesn't hold on tight. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy his all-encompassing presence. As he lazily strokes the line of my collarbone, I muster the courage to voice my concerns. I don't want to hear it, but it has to be said. Urish, I am worried. And it's not you, it's the medicine. I'm afraid it's not going to work, after everything we went through to get it, and I... He puts a finger to my lips. Hey, everything's all right. Is it, though? Yes, he says with a genuine smile. He's getting better at those. We're all safe, and we won a great victory today. No matter what the future holds, I have you. And Ivory has a warm bed and a full belly. I will make sure it stays that way. His words are a great comfort. I relax into him. I want you to get better, for your sake. I've seen the agony it brings you to lose yourself to this curse. No one should ever have to go through that. Irish presses his lips to my ear. Everything will be okay, Camille. I hope you're right. I get lost in his bright eyes. You'll see, he says, capturing my mouth in a slow, diligent kiss. I yield, my body warming to his attention. When he breaks away, it's a soft, gentle parting. You don't know how glad I am that you stumbled into my life. Oh, I have an idea. I trace the hard frame of his chest, taking in his overpowering scent that reminds me I'm home. I can't stop a giggle when his strong fingers bite into my thigh. More than you know. Do you? He asks, kissing my throat. He noses my jaw up so he can better access my delicate flesh beneath my chin, then leaves a heavy kiss there. Because every day I grow fonder of you, Camille. Every day brings joy I didn't know I could feel, and I don't want it to end. Something's building in his admissions, something that steals my breath as I wait for him to finally say it. He runs his fingers through my blonde hair and studies me. I don't know much about human tradition, because I'll be honest, I've never worried much about them until you. But I want you, however you'll let me have you. I want you to be my mate, Camille. I'm glad I'm not standing, because my knees would have given out me. I search his expression for any hint of insincerity, coming up empty. You mean it? I do, he says, more than anything on this planet. You have brought me back to life when I was a monster. Not just your scent, your love and understanding. Your bravery in the face of my wrath. When I was a lost cause to everyone else, you stood in the path of danger to save me. I never thought... It's my turn to silence him with a finger to his lips. I can't stop smiling. Yes, Urish, I'll be your mate, whatever that entails. His uncertainty fades and true bliss illuminates his features. You will? I nod, muted by his fierce kiss that consumes reason. I love this orc, I realise internally, accepting all of him. My worries abate as he pins me to the bed in his jubilance, knowing that whatever happens, we'll survive it together.
In a world of elves, demons, and liches.
What would you choose?
Power?
or passion,
Did you stab the monster in the back?
or take him to bed.
The Immersive Fantasy Audiobook Bundle has it all.
Go to worldsofprathika.com to get access.
Use code YouTube30 to get an additional 30% off.
Prathika's magic is eternal. Audio bundles will make it immersive.
Chapter 28. Urish. What do you think he found? Camille asks me as we walk through the streets towards the shaman's office. I'm not sure, I say. She rolls her eyes, yet it does nothing to quell the smile on her face. Do you have any guesses? I'm not the one who even knew the herb existed. I have no clue, but I'm feeling hopeful. I pause. Maybe. I don't know. All I know is that I'm happy right now with you. After the battle where I almost lost myself and lost Camille, I spent the 2 weeks in a state of semi-permanent bliss. I struggle to remember a time when I was happier. Just being with Camille makes everything easier. While there have been no more battles to test my calm, it felt very secure. I have so much more to focus on than I used to in my off hours. Before, there were women with whom I sought pleasure, but those had been passing relationships. Everything has been so serene, and my world has come to revolve around Camille and Ivory. Keeping them both safe and happy is my sworn duty now. Ivory would have come with us, but she was already gone by the time the shaman's messenger arrived. She's been making friends among the orc children around her age. The community hasn't just accepted her, but embraced her. She seems to be getting stronger now with consistent food and medicine. I worry less and less about her being out in the village, and I think Camille does too. This has become her home. I still train with the soldiers nearly every morning, but despite the early hour, Camille is right there with me, just in case the madness tries to take over. I sometimes even forget that's why she's there. I've grown so used to her presence. Though, I say, I'd actually almost forgotten about the herb. Not that it's not important, it's just that I've had other, more immediate concerns. I sweep her up into my arms, such as this beautiful woman before me. Camille laughs but pushes back until I set her down. You might have been able to forget, but I'm still insanely curious. Let's get moving. While the cure doesn't seem as vitally necessary as it had, I'm not going to deny the draw of having the possible solution. Camille is now so much more to me than the utilitarian purpose I saw for her when we first made our arrangement. There's something more keeping her here now too, so I don't need to worry that if it works, she'll decide to leave. When we arrive at the shaman's office, Loki and Ur are already there. I'm not sure if this speaks well or ill of the outcome. Do they already know, and are here to congratulate me or console me? Or perhaps the shaman summoned them as well, and they are just as much in the dark as I am. Either way, I can rely on my clan's support. Maybe Camille is right. Perhaps there are aspects where orcs are better than humans, our sense of community stronger. The shaman clears his throat and says, I was able to extract from the plant the same substance present in Camille's blood, and I can cultivate the herb easily, and the process for extracting the substance from the plant is relatively simple. Camille's grip on my arm tightens, and it feels like she is shaking. I look down and see she's beaming a smile brighter than the sun. The shaking must just be from excitement. Our shaman continues. As far as I can tell, long-term use in the amount needed to provide any benefit would be harmful to humans, but it should be fine for orcs to use. It does appear to calm the mind, and if my initial studies are any indication, it might actually provide a long-term benefit of sharpening the mind and making you more alert. He pauses and then says, This is all, of course, still really preliminary, and it might not work. It's only been 2 weeks, but I'm hopeful. We at least know it won't kill you to try it. He picks up a small bottle from the table. If you're willing to try, we can start today, he says as he holds out a small gray pill. I take it from him, careful not to drop it. It feels chalky in my hands, something he just made. It's strange that the little gray ball could be the answer to a generations-old curse. I'd like this herb to work. I'd like Camille's theory that it is a mental illness, a chemical imbalance that the herb can fix, to be correct. But it seems odd that something so small could do that. I'd only ever given passing thoughts to an end to it. Each time I'd picture some epic quest that would require months of perilous travel to distant lands and the fighting of some mighty beast in a battle to the death. With this, the greatest danger I face is a minor possibility of choking on it. I swallow the pill, and it starts to disintegrate in my mouth, coating my tongue with an acrid, sour taste. Perhaps more than a minor possibility. I almost feel my stomach roll. The shaman hands me a cup of water. I swallow it down, grimacing slightly. I'm still working on the delivery method. I'm hand-rolling the pills now, but once I figure out the best methods, I can just hand you a bottle of pills that will be coated, so it doesn't dissolve in your mouth like that. He smiles. Sorry. I should have warned you they taste like death. If that's the worst of it, then I think I can learn to manage, I say. I look down at Camille, but my smile falters when I see tears in her eyes. What's wrong? I ask. She dabs at her eyes with the hem of her sleeve and says, I'm just so happy. I circle my hands around her waist and pick her up before drawing her in close and kissing her deeply. Her arms wrap around my neck as she pulls me in more. If she can still taste the bitter tang of the medicine on my lips, she doesn't seem to mind. I hear clapping and whooping from and Loki, and as soon as I set Camille down, I can feel their hands on my shoulders. Both of them are thrilled by the news. There's the small, niggling thought in the back of my mind. What if it doesn't work? What if this is too simple a solution, too good to be true? But then I think back to the last 2 weeks. I made it this far without it. I can't let those doubts hold me back. If it isn't a mental illness, or the herb isn't the cure, I can survive with her and my allies at my side. I have people I can rely on to keep me grounded. But more importantly for me, I have people who rely on me much more than I used to. I can't let madness, or the fear of madness, take control of my life. After we finish talking with the shaman, Loki, and we walk out of the shaman's office and head home. I turn to Camille. Her eyes are still shimmering with tears. How do you feel? She asks. Maybe it's just my imagination or wishful thinking, but I feel like I can already feel myself getting clearer, I say. Perhaps, after a lifetime of struggle, the madness that has plagued me will finally be done with.
Chapter 29. Camille. Urish leads me out of the orc base and into the woods. The sun sets against the horizon, painting the sky with vivid orange and pink light. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. He hasn't glanced once at the sunset, and he doesn't seem concerned that the light has begun to fade. We sit near a crystal-clear stream, and the howls from the bushes don't worry me. Nothing can touch me while he is near. He must have stopped by earlier, because a campfire has already been set, and a blanket rests on the ground near our feet. The sun has almost completely disappeared, but he's in no hurry to leave. Are we camping? He smiles. It's the same smile that should terrify me, but I know him too well now. Not only that, but his skin sits easily on him. He's settled. Happiness radiates from his eyes, and I know that he's finally at peace. His curse isn't gone, but it's treated. He doesn't need me anymore in order to keep the madness at bay. But he wants me. It's dizzying how much he wants me. How much I want him in return. I can't help but notice that you've taken me into the woods alone at night. His smile widens, and I feel my lips twitch up in return. Is this some sort of midnight picnic? Picnic? He leans toward me until his breath tickles my ear. My nerve endings sing. Is that where I make you scream my name so loud that even the stars can hear you? It's like lightning. I collapse against him, limp and sated, and he groans a laugh. I thought we'd be far enough outdoors. he says. Next time we'll have to travel a few settlements over. I shake my head. I can't wait that long. You'll just have to learn how to be quiet. Me? He's incredulous. I'm pretty sure you frightened a mountain lion away with your own roar. My throat does feel quite raw. I'm sure we'll figure something out. We'll need lots of practice. I kiss him, slow and thorough, until a slow lick of heat curls in my stomach. Practice is good. His kiss grows more enthusiastic. How is it possible to want one person so much? It's like the desire for him is an endless well. It frightened me at first to want him so much, but now I see it for the comfort it is. We'll stay out here tonight until we get it right, he assures me. I capture his lips with mine.
As much as Samara and I want to finish what these two characters have started, looks like this chapter is about to get too hot for YouTube to handle.
Unfortunately, we have to pause here because their guidelines won't allow us to reveal the spiciest details.
To keep bringing you these free audiobooks, we have to follow their rules.
But don't worry. You can experience the full, unabridged version over at worldsofprothika.com, where the boundaries of passion and fantasy collide.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off any of our unabridged audiobooks set in the rich and immersive worlds of Prothika.
Prothika's magic is eternal.
With these scenes, it will be unforgettable. Chapter 30, Urish. There is never a time when I am not in awe of this woman, but as she stands in front of me now, I am dumbstruck. Her golden hair is braided and she wears a dress that reveals her shoulders. Having eaten more in the last 2 months than in her entire life, she fills the dress perfectly, every curve of her body speaking to me. There is the gentle rattle of bones as the shaman circles us, his voice low and deep as he chants words that are beyond my understanding. It is not usual for the shaman to preside over a bonding ceremony, but Camille requested it, such as her fondness for and connection to him. When he stops, she looks across at him as he stands to the side of us, asking us to place our hands together so that he may bind us. I take her precious hands and place them between my huge palms. The mating has been successful. Both Urish and Camille have become one. They have shared their time and their bodies over the weeks. With this binding, the bonding is complete. The shaman wraps our hands in twine. Into it, flowers and herbs have been arranged, the scent fresh and fragrant, just like her. She looks down at the arrangement, at our hands covered in flowers and foliage, and smiles, her eyes soft. It is beautiful, but nothing can touch her beauty. No one and nothing can now break this bond. You are bound together forever. At those words, my heart soars. She will forever be with me. Behind her in the distance, Ivory is smiling and clapping her hands together. I have a mate and a family. How can this be real? Loki and step forward to cast their blessings. May this union bring you true happiness, and many orclings, says Loki to great applause. You have shown us that orcs and humans can more than coexist. They can love and bond, says a gentle smile touching his lips. For this we can all be thankful. May you enjoy many fruitful years together. I smile at my chieftain and second in command, marveling at how far we have all come over these last months. Our union may be the catalyst for change in this clan, and maybe even beyond. They both step away, and once again the shaman circles us. This time he places a circle of herbs, petals, and salt around us. No one may enter this circle except for Urish and Camille. You have today sealed your bond. You are now mates for life. This scene is about to get too steamy for YouTube's comfort. And as much as we'd love to keep going, their guidelines say we need to stop here.
To continue releasing these free audiobooks on this platform, we've got to play by the rules.
The passion doesn't end here.
Visit worldsofprothika.com to hear the full, uncut version of this fantasy romance, and every daring moment that YouTube can't handle.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off unabridged audiobooks in the worlds of Protheka.
Don't let YouTube hold you back. Immerse yourself in a world of magic, danger, and unfiltered passion.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
Listen unabridged and you'll never want to go back.